And we're live.
Welcome to the show.
Hi, all. It is Thursday night.
Hi. Good evening.
It is Thursday night, Generational Change. I'm Jen.
I'm Peter, and we are still trying to figure out how not to give Seinfeld any credit anymore.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, those days are long gone, aren't they?
Yeah.
Do you think our camera is close enough or too
We're
far
fine
away?
for right now. We're getting geared up to have the second camera
So we're going to have a second camera.
Yeah, we're going to each have a different camera. So
that also means
we're in transition. We're going to move further apart.
Yeah, but we're also going to be able to do like that. Oh wait, we can't do that because there's only one person right now.
Yeah.
But that split screen, which I think is really cool.
I know it pleases you.
Yes, and
I know.
I'm talking into the microphone now, so I hope everybody can hear me clearly.
Yeah. Everyone can hear you.
Oh, Tony D, member for 9 months. He has a birthday request.
Yes.
So I gotta deliver it, even though.
He wants a Bernie.
Okay,
he wants a Bernie.
I will get back to you on that. We do not have time to waste.
No, we have a guest.
We do have a special guest, and he has limited time,
which is why we're early.
Yes. Well, we make exceptions for those that actually.
No, I'm just saying that's why people didn't realize that we were going live. We don't normally go live yet.
I'm too far from my mic, according to Danny Ferguson.
This is what I'm saying.
Well, this is why I've got. Oh, would you like if I?
You need to.
It's like right out of the. It's like right out of the SNL skit with Pete Schweddy. If you don't know what that is, go look it up.
The
special guest, he is probably the most courageous activist turned political candidate I think we have in left populist politics going right now. You know him, you love him. He's running for New York's 15th congressional district against Mr. APAC butt boy. Sorry, I have to say it.
I loathe him. Like, I can't even tell you, not like, even I think more than I cannot stand our congresswoman, I cannot stand Richie Torres. So.
Champion of the working people and then some. Jose Vega, welcome back to Generational Change.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be back on.
Absolutely. It's good to see you. Tell me about, I don't know what that was that you were now yelling at somebody, but I'm sure they had it coming. And so what was that and what were you yelling about? Because I'm sure with you, I'm just curious what we're yelling about in this instance.
Sure, no problem. So Paul Krugman is a Nobel laureate on economics. I think he won the award in 2008 or so. And which is a funny year to win a Nobel Prize for economy. And he is known for telling people, hey, the economy's good, stop complaining. You know, that's like his job. So he writes in the New York Times all the time about how the economy is great. Our GDP is a great factor and indicator for good our economy is. And with this event that I interrupted was him. It was something called Perceptions of the Economy and Its Effect on the Elections. And the preamble by the moderator and the person who introduced the event was saying, you know, with all strong market indicators and, you know, the GDP is at an all-time high, why do people think the economy sucks when everything is great? And that was the thing. And so you start listening to them and, well, the S&P 500 went up a few points today, and it shows that people are living great. I don't know why people would be thinking the economy sucked.
But now who's that audience too?
Well, yeah.
Right. So is he preaching to basically his choir echo chamber people that's an audience that are sort of already too far gone to some extent? Like it doesn't, right? Like, I mean, who's buying that at this point other than the shareholders?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Well, we can show you since you are here and since we can comment on it. This is a couple of minutes long, but you know, what always strikes me, Jose, is not that Krugman is such a pompous ass. It's the crowd. It's the crowd that just kind of defines why certain people get elected to office.
And where is this, by the way?
This is at the CUNY Graduate Center, downtown Manhattan, like 32nd Street and 5th Avenue. So, you know, it's a place for people who think they're intellectuals to go and give talks.
Well, let's cue it up. This is definitely going to be interesting, and Jose definitely brings the heat, but the reaction is really what defines the clip. So here we go.
Uh-oh, Nobel Prize-winning economist here to tell us how great the economy is. I certainly wonder how the residents of Asheville, North Carolina must be feeling right now with no access to power or water or communication with the outside world. I wonder how enthusiastic they are about the economy right now. I wonder how...
So, Jen, would you please describe for the audience who this old gentleman is that decided to get in Jose's face?
I don't know. Who is that? Who is that?
Nobody. Just a real...
one of those guys. Stop!
Why are you doing this? Why are you even here? Getting in everybody's... Why are you interrupting our private party?
Oh, my God.
Because that's what it is for them. This isn't about public discourse. This is about private reaffirmation.
Well, looks like a very bougie kind of event.
It was. The people around me were all over 65. And I felt kind of bad because when I walked in, they gave me a card and said, if you want your question heard, write your question on a card. And I asked, can I have a pen? And they said no, because they didn't have any. They said, just ask someone in the audience for a pen. And I mean, everybody had a pen. I asked the people to my left, do you have a pen? And everyone started pulling out a pen. So I was very happy that, you know, hey, everyone had a pen, I guess. And they were really like nice people. They were cracking jokes and stuff. And I felt bad, almost like, oh no, you know, they're really nice people, you know, but hey, I got to do what I got to do, right? So
yeah, but you see, these same people are the same people that would be sitting in front of an audience in an audience where they would be cheering on Israel and Ukraine as well.
Oh,
so
sure.
It's the same people. So the fact that you interrupted it based on an economic position, it would be the same. This guy, if you stood up and said something about free Palestine, this same guy would get it's the same people. That's what I think. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
We'll keep going.
Enthusiastic the residents of the South Bronx must be feeling about the economy. Hey, maybe North Carolina should rename itself Israel so it'll get $20 billion in aid. Or maybe Ukraine so it can get $300 billion in aid. Maybe the South Bronx should do the same thing. I mean, I'm sure the economy is great for smug liberals like yourself who make $5 million and are worth $5 million. I'm sure the economy must be great for all you smug journalists, economists. All of you must be having a great time with the economy when most people can't even pay for basic necessities, for people who are getting evicted because they can't pay their rent. Because over in the South Bronx, just a few miles away from here, there are portions of buildings that are literally collapsing. And I'm supposed to give a shit about the stock market? You want to know why the presidential election is tied right now? Because our money is being sent to Israel and Ukraine so that they can continue to bomb innocent women and children. You think that's a great economy? I'm sure Israel, with their free health care, is having a great time with American taxpayer money.
What I always find interesting is, on the one hand, they're pretending not to listen, but they hear every word.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And the sad part is that they actually do think that they're entitled to live in this sort of privileged enclave, and everyone else basically has to suffer. That's why no one ever speaks up. No one ever has this epiphany. It's this, oh, I like my tickets to the Met, and I like having my dinners on the Upper West Side, and I like going to the fancy parties.
There's also a very strong possibility that none of these people watch actual news. These people probably watch mainstream stenographer propaganda. These people, so you're assuming that, and they don't want to know more than that.
I agree with that.
It isn't that they know there's people. They don't want to know. They're annoyed that you're disrupting the event. They don't care. The content is not relevant to them. They're just annoyed that you're disrupting them. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, well, and what you can't really hear is because the audio, which is just my phone, did a pretty good job at kind of picking up my voice and isolating out the boos, although they still come through, is that I knew walking in there I was going to have a lot of time because the only security guard was the guy sitting in the front desk. Right. And so, there was no security in the room, and the room was kind of small, and they were also all old. I hate to put it that way, but that's just true. And so after the first, whenever I do these things, I know I'm going to get booed. So my goal is to just ignore the boos. I know whoever I'm speaking to is going to hear this afterwards on social media, assuming it goes viral. And this one did, but they got tired of booing me maybe about 20 to 30 seconds in. So at that point, they're kind of just you can hear the boos come in waves. And when I said, maybe North Carolina should rename itself Israel so it'll get $20 billion in aid, then the boos started again. So it's okay, so they are hearing what I'm saying. They are listening to me. And it was pretty I just had fun with it on that one. And I know they were hearing me. I know they were listening to me. Because I think some guy at the end, and maybe you can hear it in the audio, maybe you can't, was well, thanks, man, or something like that. And anyway, yeah,
raining on their parade of their mirage, their image that they had of the government, of the economy right now. They thought it was all good. It's looking good.
I mean, look, you may be sitting in a room full of AIPAC donors. Got to remember that as well. That's also,
exactly.
A lot of them have, listen.
That's what I said. There's a crossover crowd. The same people the people that concern themselves with the stock market there's a big crossover with them and the Zionists. That's all I'm saying.
Some AIPAC donors.
I do know AIPAC donors.
And they're regular Tom, Dick, and Harry's, people sitting in that audience, only they give a hell of a lot of money.
They give
a lot of money. All right, let's finish it up.
Hey, is anyone here going to talk about the fact that we could be in war with Iran in a few days? Or do we need to focus on the S&P 500? Is that what actually matters? The S&P 500? When most people...
Did he finally put his hands on you? Is that why?
Did he touch you?
Like that?
That was actually our friend Fred who put his hands, the guy in front of me, the old guy. Yeah, I call him Fred because his shirt says
Fred.
Yeah, so when I said, or do we need to worry about the S&P 500? I guess that really pissed him off because he just swiped at my phone. Wow. And I actually know why that pissed him off. It's because I looked up what Fred is, and Fred is the Financial Reserve something data.
Oh.
That's or Federal Reserve something data, right? So this guy is wearing a shirt of a data company that monitors stocks in the Federal Reserve. Okay, so this guy is a S&P 500 mega fan. Okay, so of course, yeah.
See, to me, this is actually it's interesting because we went to a Trump rally a few years back. And it wasn't what I thought it would be. You have this image that it's going to be all rednecks and, Dixie flags and all that. And there was some of that. But I got to tell you, this right here, this room, that panel, the way that douche is sitting with his leg crossed while you're standing here saying this whole scene right here is so much more disgusting to me than the Trump rally freak show fringe people that I saw. And I like, seriously, these people are the problem.
Well, the problem with this particular crowd, more than anything else, as I always try to point out, is this is the crowd that cheers on war the loudest.
Oh.
And they're also the people who would never lift a finger to defend a nation. They are the upper class liberals that we have always been warned about, or as Malcolm would always say, is the white moderate. This is that crowd. This is that group of people who are very content with the status quo. In fact, they're willing to go wherever the status quo tells them to go. And if that means war with Iran, among other things, then they will go with it because they do not want any disruption in their privileged little lives.
It's going to get ugly for them, though.
Indeed. We'll finish it.
People may not even be alive here in a few days just because we're on the verge of nuclear war. Hey, listen to me, Mr. Krugman. Your degree is worthless. You might as well use it as paperweight because it means nothing. I hope you enjoy the dead children that the economy is powering. Our economy is definitely very powerful right now. All that stock market money goes to the military complex so that more innocent women and children are dead. And fuck off with the New York Times, the liberal apologists for war and genocide. You all fucking suck. People need to wake up right now, and we need to have peace. We can work with China. We can work with Russia. We don't need to start war with Iran. All right, I'm leaving. I'm good. We're good.
You got really far this time. Like you said, it was the one guy. I mean, it was, there was nobody else that was going to do anything. That's pretty, you got a lot out.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I did not anticipate the big beefy 300-pound security guard who just lifted me up like I was a feather. And I'm not a light dude myself. So, he just like, I was, that's why I started cursing, because I didn't want to say, damn, this guy's strong. I wanted to stay focused. So you kind of pump it up just a little more. So
you were anticipating that particular manhandling situation.
I was not. No, I was. Because the first cop who came was like this, skinny dude who's like gently like, "Come on, man, I get it, let's go." And I'm kind of walking, and then I stop. But this guy's like, "No, you're done. That's it." Picks me up like I'm nothing.
I will tell you.
You know what though? It does not that make you appreciate Medea Benjamin she gets lifted up? Because I have seen her get carried out, and she does not make it easy. And she's teeny. Well, she's teeny, and she's kicking and screaming. No, that was awesome.
I'll tell you what you did do though. I think he got under Krugman's skin by going after his degree and telling it it's worth less than paperweight. And I'm sure that at that, he probably wanted to say, "You're just a little peasant and I'm an affluent rich guy, and that's what matters."
If only your degree really mattered.
Oh,
that's why he responded the morning after. He said that, what was it?
Oh, Colin.
Oh, wait, is there a thing?
Grab Mr. Krugman's tweet that Jose completely ratioed the shit out of him on.
Okay, so then he did respond he put out something about this.
I'm not even going to say it. You're going to need to see it because it was so It was so bougie, liberal, typical in terms of his response. He couldn't even own it. He had to deflect, and he deflected in the most typical, pathetic way possible in terms of trying to make it seem like there was a reason that he came out and did this. And of course, he said last night at the CUNY event about perceptions on the economy, we had a guy yelling about Biden refusing to help Helene victims.
Helene, that's a hurricane. Helene,
who had to be escorted out. So Trump's lies have gone viral.
See, and this is what's flooring to me, right? This is supposedly a journalist. Is he a journalist? He's affiliated with the New York Times. I mean, is he? Yeah. But I mean, this is like supposedly like an educated professional person.
I tell you, he would hate you right now for not knowing who he is.
Yeah. Whatever. He can, whatever. I don't care. I'll wipe my ass with his degree. But I can tell you right now, like this right here is a sign of someone who is scared of facts and truth, and also someone who has no concept of journalism. So I don't know who this is. But I don't read the New York Times because it hasn't been good since the 80s.
It's really never been good.
So, I'm just saying, like, I think it's trash. So why would I read that crap?
Colin, can you put up Jose's response?
Actually, it's also the first link in. There you go. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So I quote tweeted it, and then I just put the video up again, and then
That's
yeah.
so funny.
I do like that Urban Dictionary word, quackademic. That definitely works.
yeah.
He
Whack, 'cause
is
that's all
supposedly
they
an
really say.
economist or something.
Yes, supposedly economist.
Well, if you
Yeah,
think about it,
whatever
Krugman
that
really
is.
is the perfect front person for the war machine because he's always going to say that war is a good thing. Hence why when war is good, the economy is good.
But I love how he said that he specifically said that you mentioned Biden
I didn't.
as if that was the issue. And so what that shows me is obviously that he's trying to deflect. Like, well, he wasn't really upset about the economy. He's upset with Biden. He's upset that Joe Biden didn't respond properly. I mean, did you even mention Joe Biden?
No,
Didn't
I
see
didn't.
that.
I didn't think so.
No, I didn't mention Trump. I didn't mention Biden. If anything, I just asked a polemical question. How do the residents of Asheville, North Carolina feel about the economy right now? You know, like I didn't say anything about Biden, and this guy wants to say that I'm some Trump supporter. I'm not, you know.
No, but that's what they do. And that makes you the boogeyman of that room. That's how they do it.
And that's
You
why
know,
I liked
the
the
Republicans, right? Here's the thing: the Republicans blame immigrants and Muslims, and the Democrats blame Republicans. But everybody has the boogeyman, and it doesn't, like Orange Man bad. And so, if they can affiliate you with that, then that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Please I know you got
gotta
to roll. Give
Yeah.
everybody a quick update. Guys, make sure that you go to Jose's website. Chip in if you can. Remember, he's running against one of the biggest Zio supporters.
Guys, he's running against Richie Torres.
Don't get much more depraved than
I
that.
cannot tell you how much I dislike. He blocked me, but
Yeah.
so I follow him on this other account that I have for my business just because I have to see how ridiculously douchey he is. And I'm convinced that his people are paid bots or paid people.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're at 32 days till the general election, and I'm
Okay.
definitely feeling the heat and the pressure, but everybody gets me through it who sends me supportive message. You guys get me through this. You know, I know you know how this process goes, and so it's and doing this for the first time, it feels like the world's on my shoulders, and sometimes I can't take it. Sometimes it's like a lot, and you know.
Yeah.
The support from everybody, especially the outpouring of love after this intervention, really helps mental health wise. And I just can never be grateful enough for people. So I want to finish strong. I want to sprint past the finish line, and people can follow me on social media at JOSBTRIG. It's in the description. People can go on my website, votevega.nyc, and, you know, just keep up with me.
Absolutely, guys, show some love over there and definitely spread the message.
Appreciate you, brother.
Much,
Keep
Jose.
fighting the good fight. We'll be
Thank
talking.
you.
Thank you,
Take care.
Bye-bye.
I love that.
I think that it does take a lot of guts.
I love that.
But every time somebody steps up and is willing to make that leap, like Jose has made into the independent sphere of running as a candidate and basically saying, I'm not playing this game, which is why Krugman had to go in that. Oh, he's just going after Biden and he's a Trump guy. How about he's neither? Isn't that amazing? It really is amazing.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about amazing. We have our next guest. Yeah, we're going old school tonight. We used to have two guests, if you remember.
Well, during real campaign season, we would always,
have to temper it just a little bit.
Yeah.
If you think it's difficult to be Jose Vega, try being India Walton. If you really want to see the Democratic Party expose themselves, I don't think they expose themselves any worse.
I don't think they feel as threatened by Jose Vega.
Probably not, but they definitely feel threatened.
Well,
by
and
like
I think
India.
that's the thing is that he is running as an independent and they have this major, confidence about, the blueness of their district. So, but I think India freaked them out so much by running in the primary.
But I think it's also
totally pissed them off. Which
but it's also a
pleases me.
lesson of exposing the corrupt system that we're stuck in.
Yeah.
As of today. I mean, you never know what the future may hold. But as of today, the system was so corrupt that it just couldn't help itself. And it literally got caught with its pants down. And imagine having a true socialist as the head of the second biggest city in the entire state of New York, the third most populous state, or excuse me, the fourth most populous state in the country. We overtook New York not too long ago.
That's
But we'll see how long
thanks
that
to them
lasts.
because they
So.
keep moving here.
Well, we are going to speak with somebody who roots for the enemy, as Jen would say, because you are a Dolphins fan.
I am a
She is
Dolphins
Bills
fan. That's okay.
But she is definitely a champion.
I'm
for
without
working
quarterback this season,
That's
so
true.
I feel a little bit more gracious. You know, I mean,
the
we're in a bad way.
And the Bills definitely have a chance to win it all. So I guess you'd rather see them than the Patriots.
And I like Buffalo.
Yeah, it's a good city. India Walton,
I
welcome
do.
back to Generational Change.
Hey,
Hey, it's so good to see you. How are you?
I am fantastic. Have never been better. How are you?
Okay. I'm good. I mean, we obviously, with the news that we saw the other day about your mayor there, and the new direction of career that he seems to be taking, and I said, you know, that's really interesting. That's really interesting. And so we're gonna have to talk about, like, so what happens now? Like, what's the chain of command? Like,
Yeah.
what happens?
So what does happen now? Since he decided that, I don't want this anymore.
Oh my God.
Well, I mean, two things, right? Like, first of all, this did not come out of the blue. We knew that he didn't want the job in 2021. That's why he didn't run in the primary, right? That's why he lost. But he's been looking for an exit. He did everything short of putting his resume on Indeed. He's been looking for somewhere to land. And you know, the off-track betting is a state entity. It was controlled by the Republicans. Our state legislature flipped control of the off-track betting to the Democrats, and then they appointed one of the mayor's allies to the board. So this has been orchestrated over time. The other thing that's really shocking is that average voters in Buffalo have no idea how government works. Like, most people think that the deputy mayor just assumes the mayorship if the mayor steps down. It's not true. The council president is taking the mayor's place. His name is Chris Scanlon. And the unfortunate part is that the timeline is such that he waited just long enough to not trigger a special election. So again, the voters are being fleeced.
Of course. But now, is this person that's taking over an elected position, like, is he somebody that was elected to the position he's in? Is that an elected position?
So he's a councilman of the South District, which coincidentally, a lot of his constituents are police and firefighters. And this person, Chris Scanlon, was also responsible for sort of delivering that right-wing, vote to the Write Down Brown campaign. So I'm pretty sure that some deals were made to get him into the council presidency, so that when Byron left, he would assume the mayorship.
Right. It's all set up ahead of time. Like, this is something that I don't think a lot of people know about how politics, and even especially local politics, that people sit in seats and they actually feel entitled to designate who they bequeath their seat to. Right? Like, that's a thing. And they get, and they actually, people get annoyed. Our Congresswoman Frederica Wilson down here, she's one district south of us. And she is one of those people. Like, she truly believes, just like Alcee Hastings did, that it is their job to bequeath that seat to who they think should have it. That it's not through an electoral process.
Well, it's no different than in, like, Michigan, where I keep trying to remind people that Dana Nessel and most likely Pete Buttigieg are going to be the two frontrunners to run for governor, because these things are planned years in advance. There is something about the way the establishment works that I don't think the populist movements on either side, definitely more so on the left, are just not really completely comprehending as of yet.
Nope.
You know, you have to be aware of how these chess pieces are put in place. And if you're not, they're going to run right by you. And in the case of Mr. Brown, it's like,
do you think he planned it from the beginning, though? Like, do you think that they set this up from when he first got in there? Like, that he knew, all right, fine, we don't want Walton in there, so I'm willing to do this, but this is the escape plan?
I first got wind that he was looking for a job last November. And in maybe June, someone told me that he began moving his personal effects from his office and from the second floor. So it's been a long, like the rumors have been circulating for quite a while.
Right. And if that's when you start seeing things, then that means it was planned long before that.
Long before that.
Yeah.
Well, we've got ourselves a little press conference that we can play some of the clip from, talking about his transition and where he's going next. Amazing that they talk about the revolving door in DC. Well, that revolving door happens.
So just we
everywhere.
should just give like not everybody might know the whole backstory here about this.
Byron Brown is the mayor of Buffalo. He was caught literally with his pants down against India Walton a few years ago, as was the Democratic Party.
I hate when you say literally when it's not literally.
Okay,
'Cause that's such a
figuratively.
millennial thing to say.
Fair enough. But he was politically caught with his pants down.
Guys, he was the mayor. India challenged
Why don't you
him.
just explain?
I'm
it?
going to, because I'm doing better. She challenged him in the Democratic primary and beat him. And instead of having any sense of honor and accepting that, he decided to come in the general as a write-in. Is that what right? As a write-in. And the Democratic Party got behind him, even though India won the primary.
And this is his fifth term that he is in.
Right. Okay. And so he kept the seat by winning it in the general as a write-in. And now this is somebody who 2 years in, not even, has already been planning an exit and is now leaving to go corporate whore himself wherever he's going. But yeah.
He did his duty. And now he's getting rewarded for it.
And this job pays $295,000 a year. Now, mind you, because it's a state agency, his pension, right, is going to be now based on the salary that he makes as the president and CEO of the off-track betting.
Unbelievable.
Oof. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It pays to be a crook.
It's a racket.
It is.
It's like a total racket.
It is. But the more people are exposed to the racket that is our broken political and economic system, the faster it's going to disintegrate and people are just going to lose faith and things are going to ultimately have to change, because there's going to literally be, tiki torches in the streets everywhere, and it's not going to be good. So here we go.
My decision to resign and take on a new opportunity was not an easy one after nearly 2 decades as mayor. I have loved serving the people of Buffalo as mayor, but Michelle and I think the time is right to transition to a new role. I'm proud of how far we've come since I first took office as mayor. Our community is now experiencing a wave of investment and confidence like never before. We saw our first population increase in 70 years. People of all ages, backgrounds, and incomes want to live, work, and visit the city of Buffalo. Our city is safer, smarter, and more sustainable. And I'm proud to say we've hired the most diverse workforce in the history of the city of Buffalo.
Yeah, because, checking the boxes is what's important.
I think it's very telling. I don't know him from anything, but he doesn't make eye contact. He doesn't look up. He's just sitting there reading. There's nothing personable here.
And how difficult of a decision. India, how much does the mayor of Buffalo make per year? What's their salary?
I think it's around 170,000 or something like that.
Okay, so it's at least decent. It's at least decent. But but he's going high up though. He's
going high up. Not only that, but he also negotiated $900 a month for transportation. So, he doesn't drive himself. He has a driver now. And the off-track betting is in Batavia. It's a little town, probably maybe 40 miles outside of the city. So he's going to continue to have a driver, drive him to work. The thing is just ridiculous, right? The median income of a person in the city of Buffalo was probably about $28,000 to $30,000, and the mayor of the city lives this type of lifestyle and is leaving behind this legacy of poverty, particularly in the Black community on the East Side, for a job making $300,000 a year. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. And I was asked if I feel vindicated. And I said, absolutely not. I have to live here. I have to live here. I am suffering right along with everyone else. Our taxes, this is going to be our third tax increase since he bashed me for saying that we were going to have to raise taxes to keep our city afloat. My home's reassessment, my home's value just increased by $130,000, and I've not made a single improvement to it, and I've only owned it for a year. Like,
Oh my
the
God.
things that are happening in the city of Buffalo right now are absolutely freaking ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's the advantage of being a homeowner in a completely gentrifying area where you are at the I'm in commercial real estate, and you are at the advantage of having that ownership. But you know what? The overwhelming majority of people don't have that luxury. And now the rents are going to be completely out of control, which I'm sure they already are. And people are already having to commute from God knows how far distances. But hey,
but this is really infuriating. But so basically, so he's going from one taxpayer funded salary to another. And I would just like to say that I don't think that any taxpayer funded salary should be that high. In that, I'm just saying, like, to me, that seems a bit exorbitant for what that is, if it's not just some sort of cash cow grift.
And get this, the off-track betting has its own history of corruption, right? So the outgoing president of the off-track betting just hired his 23-year-old son in a $52,000 a year job, right? So corrupt Byron Brown is going to the corrupt off-track betting to do more corrupt things. No, you can't make this shit up.
How much more does he have to say that we have to endure?
Not much. We'll finish it up.
All right. He can't even look up. He can't make eye contact.
Why is this not working?
I don't know, but
together
I'm not
with so many public and private partners, residents, business owners, and organizations, we've improved the lives of our neighbors and moved our community forward in many different areas, from public safety to record development and historic investments in our parks and neighborhoods, affordable housing, and youth employment. I am thankful to all of you for your confidence and the support you placed in me over the years. Our shared accomplishments are a testament to the tenacious spirit and hard work that characterizes our community.
India, what's the voter turnout in a mayoral there?
I think in 2021 in the primary there was maybe 23,000 people.
Right.
Not a lot.
Right. Like, the amount of people that are with him is so small, and people don't understand that, because so few, and the reason most people don't vote is, one, they don't think it makes a difference in their lives because their lives suck. And two, they're busting ass working 3 jobs just to keep their heads above water, and they don't even have time to get engaged in politics. And that's by design.
India, no, please.
Yeah, go
first.
Just a part of the stronghold, right, is that diverse workforce that he says City Hall has is a bunch of patronage jobs, right? So like his campaign team is basically City Hall, right? Where folks are forced to contribute to his campaign, forced to work on his campaign. Like, people's jobs are dependent upon him staying in office, and they like, it's an unspoken rule that if you are not in his camp and you don't support him, that you're going to pay, you'll be punished one way or another. So like that is how he maintains this sort of chokehold on a lot of the electorate, because the city is one of the largest employers of people in the city of Buffalo.
Yeah, we have a very similar situation here.
India, one of the things that I wanted to address, which I think you had touched upon shortly after the mayoral general election a couple of years ago, was what ended up happening, particularly with members of Labor, and how they went against you, even though you were the Democratic nominee. Jen went through obviously a plethora of different things when it comes to somebody like Wasserman Schultz, but one of the things that she did experience was some of the community leaders wanted to back Jen in the primary, and Wasserman Schultz basically said, "You get out of line and I will take your 501c3, it will be removed." Did Mr. Brown or did the Democratic establishment employ similar tactics when you two were running against each other?
They did all of that and more. And I mean, it wasn't even only them, right? Like I sit on the board of a local organization, and one of our largest funders, a local health insurance company, pulled their funding. Just like, and a supporter runs a large music festival every year, and one of their major sponsors pulled their funding. Like people really suffered, who supported the campaign publicly, and that's something that I'm still kind of reckoning with. I feel like there's lots of people that stuck their neck out for me, that I owe, um, and it's sad, and it's unfair.
Yeah. It's frustrating. And I know it, like, as somebody who's done this, like when you lose, I wasn't even remotely upset for me not getting that job. I was so angry on behalf of the people that worked so hard, like that feeling. And it is a feeling of obligation, and it's huge. And it's something, and I've tried to explain that to him. I don't know that you really understand it unless you've been that when you're a candidate and people are fighting for you, that feeling of obligation. And it really does. It's like it almost feels like children.
Yeah.
If you, and I had mentioned this on our last podcast, we have people that we've known in the labor movement, including people high up, and one in particular recently who was just like, basically was like breaking down, like telling me how much he wished he could have helped more and how he felt like, he let us down. And
he was threatened.
Yeah. And that's what ends up happening.
He was threatened.
You get threatened. And when you threaten a person's livelihood, it's very difficult for them to then have to tell you, I have to think about my wife and my kids. That is where the naivete, especially of the online warriors who always like to try to stick it to you. Oh, you didn't win. Looks like you weren't that good. It's like, you don't know dick about how this stuff really works.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
really don't.
No, people get
Why
threatened.
don't you go out there and door knock for 3 hours? That'll probably teach you a lesson faster than anything else, because then you really get to see what it's really like having to, yes, it can be very rewarding because it's always nice and people do appreciate you being out there, but you'll also encounter people who will basically tell you to get effed. Like it's a big part of the process. And this is part of the reason why incumbents don't lose. The system's broken and no one wants to really be involved anymore. People are like looking in different directions as to where to go right now. You look at the top of the 2 major party tickets.
Oh my God.
It's like a nightmare. But I'm just wondering.
Do you miss the Democrats, India? Do you miss them?
So yeah, I'm struggling really bad right now. I feel like I'm kind of like homeless, right? Like, God bless the Working Families Party. I wish that, we had more third party options on a national level. But like this summer, I went to the DNC. And I also went to the Congressional Black Caucus, and like truly, there is no place for my style of politics within the Democratic Party, right? Like a pedagogy of liberation does not exist. And, I was outside of the DNC with pro-Palestine and pro-ceasefire protesters who were experiencing great grief and anguish. And inside of the DNC, it was the exact opposite. There was a celebration going on as almost as if there was like no human suffering in the world. Like it was just so bizarre. And it was just such an icky feeling. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I belong and what I should do, but I know that I have a grandbaby on the way. So I'm putting
congratulations.
into just like, being a grandma and trying to be as happy as possible while we just wait for something to happen, I guess.
Right. Well, it's not going to come. The solution is not going to come from electoral politics on the national level. Like, that, like, it doesn't even matter. Like, it does not matter for most people who sits there. It matters who their mayor is. That matters. But
It matters who's on the school board, who's on the county
yes, the
ledge.
local stuff matters. But in terms of like the military industrial complex, it's going to keep churning regardless of what tool is sitting in the White House and in Congress. Quite honestly, it doesn't seem to make a difference. And the they are gone. If they ever were a party of working people, that is now gone. And now it is just it's scary to me that they're so disconnected from reality.
I mean, the corporations and the lobby, you know, AIPAC has bought and paid for most of them. There's a really exciting thing that I just read is happening in Maine, where there's a proposition on their ballot to cap super PAC donations.
Yeah.
So
Good.
maybe that's a thing that could catch on. But I mean, we have to get big money out of politics. Like that's the only thing that is going to begin to turn the tide. And I don't foresee that happening any time soon. And I think that, you know, in progressive circles, a lot of what I tell, especially my white male colleagues, right, is that like, it might not matter to you, right? Like if there's a second Trump presidency, but for people like me, I'm scared to death of Project 2025. You know what I mean? But I mean, like to the point of Senator Nina Turner, Project 2025 is not anything new, right? They've been slowly implementing and chipping away at our freedoms and rights for years and years and years and years. And what the Democrats keep getting wrong is that we don't have the foresight to do things from a preventative standpoint. Everything is always so reactionary. And that's why the Republicans have been able to stack the courts and we keep losing, right? So
we like to lose because that's how we fundraise. So we can look at that and fundraise by fear mongering about the Republicans and how they're coming to take away your rights. Meanwhile, you fail to do so many things, you know, not the least of which is that Obama made codifying Roe one of his principal points and then got into office and then blew it off like it never even happened. And they all also, by the way, he also did not get RBG to retire. He didn't fight for Merrick Garland. They rubber stamped so many of the lower court Republican appointed judges. And because the truth is they don't care, because most of the issues that you're concerned about, it's really a class situation.
Yep.
They don't affect the very wealthy people, no matter what color they are. And so that's the difference. So it's like, it doesn't matter whether it's Trump or it's Obama. They are going to have the same benefit based on their class, and the rest of us are screwed. Yep. But I don't know that like the idea of 8 years or more of what is Clintonism under Kamala Harris, because she is Team Clinton and standing there vowing to have the most lethal military and like really not reading the room. Okay. The idea of 8 years of that where people will go back to sleep scares me more. And I think that with Trump, and he is disgusting, but nobody goes to sleep. It's like they are on him. And so I don't know. I find that the Clintonism seems to be so much more insidious.
Yeah.
And Trump is just overtly disgusting.
And the worst part about it, although it's always, you got to take the positives wherever you can get it. But,
bad.
you know, Trump ends up getting into office again. And now all of a sudden, all of the privileged liberals in places like New York and Chicago and LA, all of a sudden they're going to care about the children in Gaza. Because now all of a sudden it's going to be flipped around.
Well, it is true that they'll bitch about things if he's there that they're otherwise fine with.
But as our good friend Steve Grumbine has made a point to say time and again, just as Jen has been making, the change is not going to come. If it comes electorally, it will not come within the two-party system. That is dead. It's just a question of when people will accept that reality. What I do think is going to happen, there are, what is there, like 5 million people in this country who identify as Muslim? I think something in that neighborhood.
I don't know.
So the Muslim population in this country is fleeing the Democratic Party in sort of mass exodus, certainly at a higher rate, even though as a person who is of the Black community, you are seeing especially Black men going over to Trump. Now, I don't know if it is so much that they're going over to Trump as that they're just done with the Democratic Party and their lives. And they're just deciding, well, I think Trump's funny, so I guess I'll support him. But,
no, because they're sick of the woke shit.
Well, that's probably true as well.
I'm just saying, and a lot of it is that, and they don't want to they don't want to talk, and a lot of it has to do with they don't want to be talking about reproductive freedom as the primary issue.
As I'm sure you have paid attention, and this sort of captured it perfectly the other day. Ta-Nehisi Coates is a very respected scholar, especially in liberal circles. But he did go on CBS the other day, and he had some things to share about his opinion about what's going on in Palestine right now. And the reaction from the white moderate kind of tells you everything you need to know. So here we go.
Actually, I want to dive into the Israel-Palestine section of the book.
Yeah,
it's the largest section of the book. And I have to say, when I read the book, I imagine if I took your name out of it, took away the awards and the acclaim, took the cover off the book, the publishing house goes away.
First of all, he is such a pompous ass on the highest level. Like he
screams Yale.
Yeah.
Who is this? Who is that? What Nepo baby is that?
Doesn't matter.
No, I'm just disgusted.
White man cometh.
But he's also a Zio tool.
Yes, absolutely. But aren't they all? This is just
also a
he
class
just
thing.
does it. He just does it in such a way where you are automatically in Coates'
This
corner.
is such like an Ivy League looking person.
100%.
I vomit.
Content of that section would not be out of place in the backpack of an extremist. And so then I found myself wondering, why does Ta-Nehisi Coates, who I've known for a long time, read his work for a long time, very talented, smart guy, leave out so much? Why leave out that Israel is surrounded by countries that want to eliminate it? Why leave out that Israel deals?
That right there. The fact that that guy said that means he is not a serious person and that this is not a serious show, which it doesn't look like anyway. So they should be grateful that he was willing to grace them, these morons, with his presence.
What does it also?
That's just not a serious thing to say.
What does it also say about addressing Mr. Coates in the third person? He couldn't even talk to him like a regular person. I know Ta-Nehisi Coates to be this great guy.
He's just setting it up. Whatever. He's so douchey. Who is that? I gotta look it up.
All right. Well, Mr. Coates, I'm sure, has some very pointed things
he
to throw
goes.
at
With terror groups that want to eliminate it. Why not detail anything of the first and the second Intifada, the cafe bombings, the bus bombings, the little kids blown to bits? And is it because you just don't believe that Israel, in any condition, has a right to exist?
Well, I would say the perspective that you just outlined, there is no shortage of that perspective in American media. That's the first thing I would say. I am most concerned always with those who don't have a voice, with those who don't have the ability to talk. I have asked repeatedly in my interviews whether there is a single network, mainstream organization in America with a Palestinian American bureau chief or correspondent who actually has a voice to articulate their part of the world. I've been a reporter for 20 years. The reporters of those who believe more sympathetically about Israel and its right to exist don't have a problem getting their voice out. But what I saw in Palestine, what I saw on the West Bank, what I saw in Haifa in Israel, what I saw in the South Hebron Hills, those were the stories that I have not heard. And those were the stories that I was most occupied with. I wrote a 260-page book. It is not a treatise on the entirety of the conflict between the Palestinians and the Israelis.
But if you were to read this book, you would be left wondering, why does any of Israel exist? What a horrific place, committing horrific acts on a daily basis. So I think the question is central and key. If Israel has a right to exist, and if your answer is no, then I guess the question becomes, why do the Palestinians have a right to exist?
This guy is such a, first of all, the fact that the other two people on the panel are not even being included in the conversation.
Well, this is clearly right. No, there's that. But of course, I did look him up. And yes, he not only is he a total douche, but he's from down here. He's a South Florida dude. Yeah, you're welcome. He went to Gulliver Prep as soon as I saw that on here. And then GW in Columbia. So you're welcome for that world.
Wait, I mean, the hair didn't give it away?
I didn't necessarily know he was from down here, but I'm not surprised. Anyway.
And for those of you who don't know, Mr. How do you say his name?
I don't know. How do you say that?
Duckapul?
Duckapil?
Tony Duckapil is married to Katie Tur.
I don't know who that is.
Let's just say that it's an incestuous world that the DC bubble people tend to live in. And
he's also small. He's 5'8".
Yeah. Oh, well,
That's what I was showing
listen,
you. I'm
what-
just saying. No.
He's petite.
It's clearly, but let me tell you
with
something.
men.
Yes, there is absolutely an insecurity thing. It is not a coincidence that presidents are all tall. It is not a coincidence that that is the case. And it has to, I'm telling
India,
you.
in case you were wondering, Ron DeSantis is 5'8" as well.
He wears lifts.
Mm-hmm. That's not a
Yeah,
joke.
I heard that. You
Exactly.
know who else
Why
wears
does he wear
lifts?
lifts?
Our former congressman, Brian Higgins, he left Congress to go to the theater company, the local theater company. Buffalo politics, man. People should pay more attention to Buffalo politics just for the ridiculousness of it. But anyway, he wears lifts in his shoes too.
You know, the sad truth is, and you even brought up the fact, I'm not a fan of the Working Families Party as a whole, but I am a fan of the Working Families Party in New York because I think they actually do a pretty good job. You know, it's unfortunate because I think one of the things, and this is one of the things related to Eric Adams that's going on right now that I don't think is being talked about, is this is what I consider to be the positive side of the AOC effect. I do think that there is this sort of left contingent within New York City that is definitely paying a lot more attention to the corruption within city politics. I don't think Buffalo has that element that Manhattan and, you know, Queens and the Bronx does. And I think if it did, that's where a lot of these stories that we're talking about, most people don't know about them, but they should know about them. I think that that is vital. And when you get somebody like this guy who is just completely glossing over everything that Israel is doing right now, all he wants to do is antagonize this guy. And I'm thinking, well, if you're already on board with what Israel is doing, why did you bring him on? Did you bring him on to just try to cut him down?
Well, or were you stupid enough to think that you were going to gotcha Ta-Nehisi Coates? Like, that's just what I understand. Like what, like, and I don't know. Look, just the whole way. Look at how they're sitting. Look at the difference in how they're sitting.
Yes.
His first answer was very pointed and sufficient, right? And then he goes right back in on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Keep trying to push him around. I find him to be very gracious about the whole thing. I want to like punch this guy.
Mr. Coates handles himself well. Let's see what he has to say further.
Why do 20 different Muslim countries?
My answer is that no country in this world establishes its ability to exist through rights. Countries establish their ability to exist through force, as America did. And so I think this question of right to Israel does exist. It's a fact. The question of its right is not a question that I would be faced with any other country.
But you write a book that delegitimizes the pillars of Israel. It seems like an effort to topple the whole building of it. So I come back to the question, and it's what I struggled with throughout this book. What is it that so particularly offends you about the existence of a Jewish state that is a Jewish safe place and not any of the other states out there?
There's nothing that offends me about a Jewish state. I am offended by the idea of states built on ethnocracy, no matter where they are.
Muslim included.
I would not want a state where any group of people laid down their citizenship rights based on ethnicity. The country of Israel is a state in which half the population exists on one tier of citizenship, and everybody else that's ruled by Israelis exists on another tier, including Palestinian Israeli citizens. The only people that exist on that first tier are Israeli Jews. Why do we support that? Why is that okay?
He's sitting there thinking it's perfectly fine.
I'm the child of people that were born into a country where that was exactly the case, of American apartheid. I walk over there and I walk through the occupied territories and I walk down the street in Hebron. And a guy says to me, I can't walk down the street unless I profess my religion. I'm with another pastor. No. I want to. This is very, very important.
It is important. It is
extremely important.
Yeah, let me lay it down.
I'm working with the person that is guiding me is a Palestinian whose father, whose grandfather and grandmother was born in this town. And I have more freedom to walk than he does. He can't ride on certain roads. He can't get water in the same way that Israeli citizens who live less than a mile away from him can.
And why is that okay? Why is that? Why is there no agency in this book for the Palestinians? They exist in your narrative merely as victims of the Israelis, as though they were not offered peace at any juncture, as though they don't have a stake in this as well. What is their role in the lack of a Palestinian?
I have a very, 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 very moral compass about this. And again, perhaps it's because of my ancestry. Either apartheid is right or it's wrong. It's really, really simple. Either what I saw was right or it's wrong. I am, for instance, against the death penalty. What the person did to get the death penalty it really doesn't matter to me. I don't care if they were selling a nickel bag of marijuana or if they were a serial killer. I am against the death penalty. I am against a state that discriminates against people on the basis of ethnicity. I'm against that. There is nothing the Palestinians could do that would make that okay for me. My book is not based on the hyper-morality
What's the last
of the
message you
Palestinian
want
people.
in lessons? Because many people feel it's complicated. You say it's not complicated. Less than 20 seconds. What's your message?
Less than 20 seconds. I want people to read the book.
Well,
And I don't make the assumption that somebody would just read the book and have read nothing else about Israel and Palestine.
You're still invited to High Holidays. I'll see you at the show.
God in heaven, this guy is such an asshole.
So I just did, India, this is interesting. I just did a brief bit of research. So that guy's ex-wife and 2 of his children live in Israel.
Oh.
Uh-huh. So, which I think is somewhat of,
conflict of interest.
Well,
just slightly.
He might be a little biased.
It's a lot biased, So that's just, I just looked that up. Yep. His ex-wife and 2 of his children live in Israel. Well, they did as of, at the end of last year. Who, for all I know, they're here now. But clearly, he has an axe to grind.
So they're settler colonists.
Correct.
You had 3 people there for the interview. It went for about 6 or 7 minutes. Not short, but not
Gail
too long.
piped
Gail
in.
decides to pipe in with
complicated.
20 seconds left without even giving him an opportunity to give a response.
She is so freaking bougie. It's annoying.
And allowing Tony to just dominate that conversation. And it's as if to suggest, but is Tony Jewish? Is that?
I don't get that from his last name. No.
Unfortunately, this is corporate media in a nutshell. And I would imagine that when you were interviewed, not by independent media like us, but when you were interviewed by corporate media, that you probably had somewhat of a similar experience. How can a socialist possibly run a big city like this? How are you going to pay for all this?
How are you going to
stuff?
pay for it?
How do you even give people hope when you know it's not possible to do these things?
Yeah, so many interviews are like that. And one particular interview that stands out to me, the day after I won the primary, there's a local reporter. His name is Ed Drench, and he's so cute. I love him. And he says to me, how are you going to relate to people from marginalized communities like the LGBTQ community? And I was like, okay. And then he said something about like my public safety plan. And he said, how are you going to convince drug dealers, making all that money to go work regular jobs?
Is that how that works? Is that normally how plans work? We approach the dealers on the street and say, look, here's the plan.
I'm the
mayor.
Cutting it
Here's
to your
the plan.
territory.
You're going to go get a regular job. That's the plan.
I said, do you know? I said, do you know any drug dealers? He said, no, do you? I said, I do. And guess what? Most of them would prefer to work a job than to sell drugs.
I know someone too, and it is very, very true. And often people that are dealing drugs, it's because a lot of them are they're previously incarcerated individuals. There are people that have to constantly be checking a box that they have a previous conviction. Yep. And there are people that end up with no other way and no other means than going back to where they came from. So I do know that. And that's just a stupid question. Who does that?
Well,
we're friends now.
But controlling the narrative is everything. I just wonder, and I think that this, again, there are a lot of things to be concerned about in terms of what Trump may or may not do if he gets back into power again. But I have looked at the shift within the Democratic Party since Bernie's movement began. And this party has closed ranks so tight that they now remind me of, the political right constantly talks about communism. No, the Democratic Party has become the party of authoritarianism. And that is indisputable at this point.
Yeah, censorship abound. They are to the right of Reagan.
Yeah.
Like this is they're ridiculous.
We're not doing it tonight, obviously, but we have, I've seen the news footage. Peter Jennings, Dan Rather, 1982, with Reagan telling Israel, you're not getting shit. Get the fuck out of Lebanon.
Yeah.
And Reagan is one of the most influential presidents we've ever had.
Unfortunately,
we're sitting in a situation right now where we don't really have a president. So this really is bad, because it's not like the election, which happens less than 5 weeks. There's the transition period. So we could be looking at a very lengthy period right now where so much bad things can happen. And Netanyahu, who I believe is of all the world leaders who I do believe would drop a nuclear weapon if he had to, he's the one.
Oh,
he's the one who would do it.
In a heartbeat.
And the real danger here is that Netanyahu really believes that we have Israel's back through thick and thin, and we probably do. The real problem is that not only does Iran have a real population compared to Iraq, they have a fighting force, they have a strong economy, and if push came to shove, both Russia and China would back Iran. And that is World War III.
You haven't even mentioned Turkey.
How about if Turkey gets involved?
Well, it's just, they're wanting this disaster. I mean, people should be scared. We came really close to a nuclear situation a couple weeks ago when Biden had to come down on what's his name in the UK and say, no, we will not allow Ukraine to shoot long and deep. We will not go shoot deep into Russia. That is how, I don't think people understand that we're really close to a bad situation.
It's a mess. And I think that a part of what, is missing in the American collective conscious is that we've not experienced war at home, right? So people who come from the Afghanistans and Iraqs of the world who have seen the devastation and destruction are afraid of it. And we just don't have that as a part of our collective memory. So it seems like a far off thing, something that can never happen on our soil, but it's very it's more than possible. And I think that the more we allow this to continue on, and the more we provide aid and weapons to fund these endless wars, the more imminent it becomes.
And I do think you say that
Absolutely.
perfectly well, because when you think about where the Democratic Party is today, it is the party that really did transition away from labor and into the urban centers and the suburbs. And so what you have now is a true neoliberal, borderline fascist party that is totally fine with endless war. And those are the people who are not fighting those wars. They're more than happy to send people off to die.
That's our jobs program for vulnerable communities.
Yep.
And so right now,
I actually think that's purposeful.
Yeah.
Can I just say that I think that one of the things that we do is because recruitment is so down in the military, that as long as that's the only job that's left for people, that's a better situation for them.
I think it also, and we're going to cover this in the next segment when you go, India, but I do think that we can end on this note, which I think is very important. I think that this election, probably more than any other, it hasn't hit everybody in the labor movement yet, but I think it's pretty damn significant. And look, we love Sean Fain, and I think the job he's done with the United Auto Workers has been fantastic.
Yeah.
I understand his loyalty to the Democratic Party. It is what it is. But the Teamsters did not endorse Kamala Harris. The firefighters today, for the first time, did not endorse a Democrat in the presidential election going back God knows how many
That's a big
generations.
deal.
And finally, Mr. Daggett, who we're going to cover in the next segment, who's the head of the Longshoremen, they just got themselves a great contract. And you know what they decided to write in Newsweek? He's a little too friendly with Donald Trump. See, that's what's more important. Not about the wonderful new union contract that he just got for his workers, but it's about the fact that he's a little too friendly with Donald Trump. So it's not hard to see the sort of disintegration that's happening within the party infrastructure.
It's terrible.
But Donald Trump is not the solution for labor either. So where we go from here is going to be the key. And I do think with a lot of disenfranchised people, and especially with such a sizable Muslim population, and I'm sure you have been around the Muslim communities, they are the most inviting, warm people in probably the entire country.
And not only that, they are highly organized. They're highly organized.
They're educated and they have money.
They're overachievers, I assure you. Yes. I especially Palestinians.
So maybe it was just inevitable that it had to be this way. And it is a tragedy of generational proportions that will never be able to wipe the blood away from what they've done. But what they have done is create a chasm in the political system in this country that will never be recovered from. And if the Democrats lose to Trump again, then that really will seal their fate. And maybe that is what needs to happen. I don't know. What I do know is that the conversations that we have, we can't just be focused on, oh, you're a candidate, let's get, no. The important times are what's happening right now.
So what are you working on right now, India?
Let's see, what am I working on? I'm doing an air quality study here in Buffalo.
Good.
I'm working on some sustainable food systems. I'm still with Roots Action, of course, with Norman Solomon and Jeff and those folks over there. Yeah, and just chilling, being happy. I'm in love. I told you I got a grandchild on the way. I'm just
Awesome.
just being a normal, concerned citizen, and every now and then I poke my head out and talk shit, and then I go back to minding my business.
It's very liberating, isn't it?
It is.
I know, it's nice to not be a candidate.
India, you've always been one of our favorites. It's always great to have you
for
here.
sure.
Guys, her information is in the description, so make sure you continue to follow her work. Look, this is the long game. This is the long movement of having a workers.
I'm just glad there's someone like her in Buffalo.
Yeah, we're happy that you're
I
in Buffalo.
like Buffalo. Well, I like Buffalo.
Yeah. I know. All right. So
visit.
You know what? I do. I've been there many times, and because my son did a program in East Aurora.
I love East Aurora.
Yeah, it's sweet, isn't it? And so he did a program there for a couple of summers. And so I've been up there multiple times. I very much like it. And they have a Frank Lloyd Wright house there.
Well,
next time you come hit me up, I'll give you I'll roll out the red carpet. I'll give you the very special Buffalo
They
experience.
even have a whole chocolate place.
India, if it's a perfect world, which of course it's not, but maybe in the world of the NFL, it will be this year. Bills, Lions, Super Bowl. What number are we up to now?
I don't know. But if that's the case, I'll definitely, of course, I'll root for Buffalo. Like, I have no beef with them other than they're in my division. Like, I don't have a problem with them. It's not like the Patriots.
No,
we all hate the Patriots.
I mean, I'm assessing the AFC this year. I don't think Kansas City is as good as they've been in other years.
Are you really into it or no? You're not into it.
Yeah,
right?
she's a Bills fan.
She's a Bills fan.
You don't see my necklace?
Oh yeah. Look at that.
I'm a Bills fanatic.
Okay.
She's Bills Mafia.
Okay.
All the way.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's kind of wide open in a lot of ways. I mean, there's no,
I'll root for Buffalo since my team has no quarterback this year.
Baltimore's obviously very talented. Pittsburgh's bounced back, but I think Buffalo could come out of the AFC. I do.
All right. Well,
we'll see what happens. Sunday was horrible. But
it's 17 weeks. You're not going to go 17-0. But if you go 13,
we all know the team that has gone undefeated, right? We all know who that is.
That's all you got these days.
I don't care. I'm living on it.
You can have your undefeated, and maybe Buffalo finally get theirs.
And we're also the team that beat the only team to come close. I will say that too.
That's true. The Bears. India, it's always a pleasure. Keep fighting the good fight, and we hope to see you again real soon.
Bye, India.
Pleasure's mine. Y'all take care.
Bye.
See you later. Definitely one of our favorites, I would say.
Well, for sure. And because she's a real person fighting the fight for working people.
So we've got a couple of segments to get to before we get out of here.
I need to vet these. What are we watching
So
here?
we're going to watch Mr. Daggett, who was the head of the Longshoremen. And as I had pointed out a little earlier, he had a lot to say. He was very vocal about the demands of the union. The Longshoremen.
But they had an agreement. They reached an agreement?
They reached it earlier today. But the Longshoremen were being taken for a ride because they are the ones who were going to shut down the ports. In fact, Governor DeSantis was prepared to strike break, shocking, unless they reached a deal. But they did. And so this is what a real, again, this is the inspiration. This is why when you have movements led by the likes of Sean O'Brien and Sean Fain, you get other union leaders that step up and show the muscle that workers really have. And remember,
it's inspiring.
There's a hell of a lot more workers than there are shareholders. Here we go.
weekend, the past
Secretary of Labor Julie Sue has been terrific. She's knocking down doors. She's trying to stop this. She's trying to get us to a media where we can have a fair negotiations. It's the companies that don't want to. They don't want to sit here and be fair. So that's why we're out here fighting for our livelihood.
What more from the automation do you want? What more protections could there be?
What more?
Yeah, they have language in there now.
Not strong enough, because what happens is they come in with new technology. We just caught them in Mobile, Alabama, called Autogate, and that means the trucks are coming in and they're already checked in somewhere else and not using the checkers in the ILA. Circumventing the contract. They don't care. They don't care. It's not fair. And if we don't put our foot down now, they would like to run over us, and we're not going to allow that.
You are going to grind the economy to a halt here on the East Coast and the Gulf Coast.
Yes.
Good.
Go for it. Please
Do it.
Yeah. And you know what? And you know what?
This is no different than when they say, oh, so you don't want Israel to exist? No.
No, actually, I don't.
I
Like,
don't-
don't threaten me with a good time.
No.
But this is, they're in the same position, or here. I mean, we know they've come to an agreement. This is the same thing as the railroad workers. If these guys go on strike, everything shuts down. Like they can't, my understanding, I was watching on Left Reckoning. Oh God, Dave Griscom had the numbers. How much it was costing them every day for the dock workers to not be working. And you would think with how much money that is, that costs them, that these are pretty important workers. They might be essential even. I would say they're essential workers, but yet they pay them and don't protect them. They pay them crap and don't protect them.
You know, the funny thing, Tony, about where we've ended up today as a result of not having a Bernie Sanders presidency is that we are that much closer to socialism, because you do not have people that are actively fighting on your behalf that are within the two-party system or within the current free market broken capitalist system actually attempting to do this.
Do you know that this kind of thing is related to what was not East Palestine? There was something else that is very, very connected to one of the things that they're fighting about in terms of what kind of damage that happens from when you have understaffed places, when you have understaffed ports, understaffed facilities. That's how accidents happen. And those are the kinds of accidents that kill people. Like lots of people.
One of the best examples, and this is why when we look back on what will Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, because I associate her with this administration as tightly as possible, especially right now, because of the fact that she is the president.
I don't think she is right now.
Or at least, not in
Again,
name, but point being,
yeah.
People forget that one of the reasons why the railroad workers went on strike is because they were cutting corners left and right and making it dangerous beyond words for people to work.
Correct. And that's happening to them.
Killed.
And that is happening to the longshoremen. And I will say that I do have a personal bias because my pop was in the Merchant Marines in World War II and worked on the docks up in, New York or wherever, back in the day. And
yeah, the longshoreman on the docks.
He was a dock worker.
If you've never seen On the Waterfront.
Yeah. And, and he was burly, and I actually have his Merchant Marines pea coat from the docks. But in any event, so I have a special bias, but I don't think people understand how important these people are.
No.
And that's why I do think that we need to see a major inconvenience. I think we all need to be very inconvenienced. I think you need to know what a real supply chain problem looks like. I think people need to understand that.
The thing that's so scary is that I can so see a scenario where Trump gets in again, and he's going to look at every scenario that's going to basically make it, not necessarily make him a king, but he's going to want the legacy of a lifetime.
Yeah, but it depends on that could go in so many bad directions.
Listen, I'm totally getting on the side of this union president. He's a tough son of a bitch. I totally appreciate him. I don't like to pay my workers a fair wage, but I gotta.
The people that do first of all, dock work is incredibly dangerous.
Oh yeah,
that is like they are in so much more danger. That job is infinitely more dangerous than cops, than law enforcement. I don't even think law enforcement's in the top 25. I mean, loggers and linemen and electricians have more dangerous jobs.
Loggers are definitely at the top, but
you do
like to point out that a cop's job is not as dangerous.
I
as people make it out
absolutely
to be.
do like to point that out, because somehow they're always saying how they're so, how their job is so dangerous. These guys, their job is dangerous. Their job is very dangerous, and they don't get the protection that officers get. They don't get that. So I'm just saying
You know who else's job is more dangerous than a police officer's?
Fishermen.
Firefighters.
Actually, commercial fishermen are one of the top 5 most dangerous jobs, as are like telephone linemen. Like, there's a lot of things that are, and I'm telling you, like, police officer isn't even in like the top 20.
All right.
Not us. They are. Don't spin it now because you're Fox News. They're going to drive it.
But are you worried?
They're going to drive it.
Are you worried that this
They have
strike?
the capital to settle this thing.
Are you worried that this strike is going to hurt the everyday American, the farmers that need to reach the export market? They're telling me that they're going to hurt through all
Now you
of
start
this.
to realize who the longshoremen are, right? Nobody cares. People never gave a about us until now, when they finally realized that the chain is being broke now. Cars won't come in. Food won't come in. Clothing won't come in. You know how many people depend on our jobs? Half the world. And it's time for them and time for Washington to put so much pressure on them to take care of us, because we took care of them, and we're here 135 years and brought them where they are today, and they don't want to share.
Their job is incredibly dangerous.
There is.
And by the way, in certain climates and conditions, it's horrific.
And apparently the longshoremen are not endorsing the Democrats either.
Shocking.
Terrible. Terrible. But Mr. Daggett has a little bit more to say.
I dig him.
But today's world, it's changing into the future. They're not making millions no more. They're making billions. And they're spending it fast as they make it. I want a piece of that for my men, because when they made their most money was during COVID. When my men had to go to work on those piers every single day, when everybody stayed home and went to work. Not my men. They died out there with the virus. We all got sick with the virus. We kept them going. From Canada to Maine to Texas, Great Lakes, Puerto Rico, now the Bahamas, everybody went to work during COVID. Nobody stayed home. Well, I want to be compensated for that. I'm not asking for the world. They know what I want. They know what they want, and if they don't, well, then I have to go into the street, and we have to fight for what we rightfully deserve.
Is he wrong?
No, let him finish, because I like what he says. I like what he's going to say.
These people today don't know what a strike is.
Right.
When my men hit the streets, from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down. You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you. First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in.
Because we make
They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you. Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are going to go to work on that pier? It's going to cost the companies money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're going to be like this. Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means. Nobody does.
I love him. He
unfortunately,
that almost sounds like he's got like a potential Hoffa-esque type of ending for saying that, but I really appreciate that. And he's right. I wanted the railroad workers to go on strike. I want people who are generally so privileged and convenient to be very inconvenienced.
Not only that, but we live in a world today where there is only so many people that can do the job. I know they want to automate everything, and that is
Oh, no.
their ideal scenario, but it's not going to happen.
No, they can't.
And thank you, Chip. It's always appreciated.
Thanks, Chip.
Remember.
And they can't. And he knows it. This guy knows the numbers. He knows what it will cost them to hire people to go around. He knows. He's crunched all those numbers. He knows that they win.
Thank you, Teresa.
But so they did reach an agreement, correct?
They did.
Good. Because, you know, that from the last I heard, the offer was a 50%.
61.5% increase over a 5-year period.
Nice.
And that's not even enough.
No, but it's a good negotiation.
It is.
And it's a good negotiation.
100%. And what it also shows you is that more and more of these scenarios are going to end up happening. And you know what else is going to end up happening? More and more people are going to sign up to join a union. That's what's going to happen.
Yep.
And then the collective power will start to grow and grow and grow. And then it don't fucking matter if you're a Republican.
I was going to say, and the more of them that are not aligning with the Democrats and the more that are jumping ship from that is going to make it be, I mean, that's just speeding up the
think
process.
about it. All of the union busting, pro-war, neocon psychopaths, you know, they're all going to end up.
Thanks, Arlene.
They're all going to end up they're all in the Democratic Party. I mean, it's like the power vacuum that could be created through a Trump presidency is something that I don't think people are truly recognizing right now. Because if you are getting to the point where Dick fucking Cheney is a spokesperson for the Democratic Party,
over. It's over.
And I got to tell you, everything that's going on right now, the fact that Trump is down there in North Carolina and Georgia right now when Kamala still hasn't fucking gone down, it's like the same thing over. It's like
she
Hillary
was
Clinton
out
not
doing
going
some
to
huge
Michigan, doing a
fundraiser,
huge fundraiser
out in California.
I mean, if that doesn't spell it, I don't know what
while
does.
towns are floating down rivers, she's at a big fundraiser.
And I agree, Arlene. And this is part of the reason, as you've pointed out many times,
absolutely,
why a lot of these unions have their renewal contract date set for May 1st, 2028. That's not a mistake.
That's when I want general strike.
Mm-hmm. That's how it goes.
But it really does involve getting the infrastructure and the support networks in place. And that starts with everybody being aware of what's going on with labor and being supportive of what's going on with labor and showing up for labor.
There is one element of Trump that I still think people miss that hasn't changed probably ever. Donald Trump is a fiercely loyal person to those that kiss his ring. He decided shortly after, or literally the day after he became president, he signed his signature policy. I know people will talk about the tax cuts, and those can always be reversed. Don't forget that.
Yeah, if only someone wanted to.
He axed the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which 1,000% would have passed under Hillary Clinton. You think labor's struggling right now? That would have probably been the end of labor if that had passed, and she would have passed it. But people would have felt better about her being president than Trump because, you know, mean tweets.
Well, and of course, the Democrats use things like they bring out things like the PRO Act to campaign.
Oh.
Joe Biden will campaign on the PRO Act and tell you that that's what they're going to do, but then they don't actually do it. It's just for fundraising.
Well, I just got to tell you, I will always be remembered for something, even if it's not good. And that's the truth. It doesn't.
But that's, I mean, that's the thing. That's one of the things that they do. They'll point it out, but when they're running, of course, they're not going to actually do it because if they did it, then how would they be fundraising off of that issue and fear mongering? So that's the problem.
Well, I don't think we're going to be able to get to every clip tonight, but we do have to.
Well, let me have a say so then. What can I vote on?
We're definitely going to talk about Assange.
Okay, yeah, we could definitely talk about Assange.
So Julian Assange came out the other day.
Oh, I watched it.
And, you know, when you think about how many journalists have been killed, not just in Gaza, but in the Middle East in general.
Oh.
And they've all been killed by the IDF. There is no other nation, maybe ours. They would have put a bullet in, you know, Julian's head if they could.
I'd like to point out that one of the journalists that they assassinated is an American citizen. I'm just saying.
Well, if you think it's bad now, keep in mind, it is now becoming abundantly consistent that the Israel army is murdering American citizens.
Oh, absolutely.
But they've gone to the lengths of suggesting, probably because they're, you know, Muslim and brown and shit like that, that they're not really an American citizen.
Right. They
Almost to
always
suggest that
question
they
people's.
denounce their citizenship.
They always question the citizenship of people when they're brown. They do. They always, I mean, they did it with Barack Obama. Like, they always question the citizenship of people that are not Anglo.
In this case, Julian Assange spoke up for the first time since being released from incarceration.
You're not playing his whole thing, right?
We're playing a clip of it.
All right,
So
because all
here's
right.
what Julian had to say.
Publisher had ever been prosecuted for publishing classified information from the United States, either domestically or internationally. I expected some kind of harassment legal process. I was prepared to fight for that. I believe the value of these publications was such that it's okay to have that fight, and that we would prevail because we had understood what was legally possible. My naivete was believing in the law. When push comes to shove, laws are just pieces of paper, and they can be reinterpreted for political expediency. They are the rules made by the ruling class, more broadly, and if those rules don't suit what it wants to do, it reinterprets them, or hopefully changes them, which is clearer. In the case of the United States, we angered one of the constituent powers of the United States.
Hillary Clinton.
The intelligence sector, the security state, the secrecy state. President Obama's Justice Department chose not to indict me, recognizing that no crime had been committed. The United States had never before prosecuted a publisher for publishing or obtaining government information. To do so would require a radical and ominous reinterpretation of the US Constitution. In January 2017, Obama also commuted the sentence of Manning, who had been convicted of being one of my sources. However, in February 2017, the landscape changed dramatically. President Trump had been elected. He appointed two wolves in MAGA hats, Mike Pompeo, a Kansas congressman and former arms industry executive, as CIA director, and William Barr, a former CIA officer, as US Attorney General. By March 2017, WikiLeaks had exposed the CIA's infiltration of French political parties, its spying on French and German leaders, its spying on the European Central Bank, European economics ministries, and its standing orders to spy on French industry as a whole. We revealed the CIA's vast production of malware and viruses, its subversion of supply chains, its subversion of antivirus software, cars, smart TVs, and iPhones. CIA Director Pompeo launched a campaign of retribution. It is now a matter of public record that under Pompeo's explicit direction, the CIA drew up plans to kidnap and to assassinate me within the Ecuadorian embassy in London, and authorized going after my European colleagues, subjecting us to theft, hacking attacks, and the planting of false information. My wife and my infant son were also targeted. A CIA asset was permanently assigned to track my wife, and instructions were given to obtain DNA from my 6-month-old son's nappy. This is the testimony of more than 30 current and former US intelligence officials speaking to the US press, which has been additionally corroborated by records seized in a prosecution brought against some of the CIA agents involved.
Remember, we
The
had those
CIA's
guys on the
targeting of
show.
myself, my family, and my associates through aggressive extrajudicial and extraterritorial means provides a rare insight into how powerful intelligence organizations engage in transnational repression. Such repressions are not unique. What is unique is that we know so much about this one due to numerous whistleblowers and to judicial investigations in Spain.
He's a hero, and he's
For
also
sure.
in a situation where he's looking around at all the things that are going on, and where do you stop? Where do you stop the bleeding? I think is the question.
Also, he did mention in the portion that I had seen that he is still not in a position to really deal and talk about what he went through, and to say that he must be suffering from PTSD is an understatement. And just him being able to speak publicly at all about this is very impressive to me.
I agree.
I don't think we can begin to understand how he was held in Belmarsh. I mean, the Ecuadorian embassy, and just being kind of like lose your freedom and you're stuck in an embassy. I mean, and that's horrible and everything for sure. But the prison where he was in maximum security with like the worst of the worst, he was in isolation. He was in solitary for like 23 hours a day. Like that type of, that's torture. He went through torture. And so, that is somebody who has some significant trauma. And you can't compensate that, by the way. He'll never be able to, that can never be fixed. He can never get that time back.
Yeah, he lost a significant portion of seeing his kids grow up.
And Mike Pompeo should be in prison.
Mike Pompeo should be in The Hague.
I mean, that alone, that there is absolute evidence that he planned to kill Julian Assange. That's a crime. That's conspiracy to commit murder. It's actually a felony. It's serious.
It is.
It is. It's actually serious.
Even for connected, powerful people like him.
I mean, and apparently not. But I mean, he should be in prison just for that. And again, we know that. It's not speculative. That's just crazy.
We would certainly like to.
Oh, I would. You know what? And honestly, I would love to, but that is not anything I would reach out or push for at this point. And
way too soon.
What I do know from what I have seen is that he is living on an island off the coast of Queensland, and it's an island, I guess, where he grew up. I think it's called Magnetic Island or something.
Well, you don't want the CIA who watches our channel to have any idea about where he is.
If they did a whole thing about it that I know, I'm fairly certain it's public info. No, they did it. There was a show about where he is now. And my understanding is that he's doing well, and he's got his family, and he's where he grew up. And
that's good.
Yeah. It's actually not far from where my cousin lives in Australia. I mean, Australia is huge. So I actually looked, and it's actually pretty close. It's the island where he is literally right off the coast at the part of Australia where my cousin lives in Mackay.
That was a nice story.
I know. But anyway, so apparently Julian is doing okay.
So I know you don't really want to talk about the debate from the other night.
Oh, please don't make me watch that.
And then, of course, we have the whole insurance scam. We've been going for an hour and 40. I mean, I guess I could do a pontificating.
Why is Springsteen there?
Because Bruce had to tell you the importance of this election.
How can you not find that infuriating? I can't believe you don't find that infuriating.
Do you want to maybe comment on that, and that'll close us out?
I'm so annoyed about it.
By the way, just so you know, for Monday night, we're working on a panel right now.
Ooh.
It looks like Angela McArdle has already confirmed, chair of the Libertarian Party. Also want to get the head of the Ron Paul Institute.
Can we get Butch Ware?
Been trying. I
love him.
Get him on as well.
Him. I like his workout videos.
Yeah, we definitely are going to have an anti-war panel for Monday. We got a lot of guests coming up. Norman Solomon, again, we're going to get his book. Yeah.
He doesn't have a current book. It's from 23. Are you sure? Is it not? Are you sure it's a book or it's an article or something?
No, it's a book.
Okay. Because I looked and I didn't see anything recent.
All right. Well, we're still happy to have him on.
Absolutely. No, he's extremely informed. I just saw him on with Katie, and he really knows his stuff.
Yes, he does.
All right, so we're going to be doing an anti-war thing. That's always nice.
Tony-
Anti-war panel on Monday.
Tony, this is for you because I really appreciate your support.
Happy birthday, Tony D.
Tony, I know that we have some very difficult times that we're living in right now. Jen, good to see you.
Hi, Bernie.
But I am on here to thank you for your wonderful support of this populist left movement. And look, things are not so good right now. But make sure that you continue to stay in the fight. Make sure that you do not give in to corporate special interests. I cannot emphasize enough how we need a universal single-payer healthcare system. We need a Green New Deal. Have you seen the planet, Jen? It looks like it's on fire. Not good. And we need to end these endless, senseless wars.
Yeah, but
It is
yet you
terrible
signed off on the money to
I did
Israel.
not sign off on the money to Israel. I just blocked the money, but they're going to block. They're going to override my veto.
Whatever,
power.
there's
I
still
really have
principle
much.
to it.
Well, I cannot stop Netanyahu by myself.
No, we know how he could be stopped.
I
It
am
would
not
be-
giving anybody suggestions as to what they should do or shouldn't do.
I'm talking about that Joe could be making a phone call.
My good friend.
Yeah, you're a good friend.
Well, anyway, I wanted to just let you know that you're doing a good job. Keep fighting the good fight. Appreciate you being here. Have a good evening. Now, unfortunately, we must transition away from Bernie, who's still a hero for many of us.
Okay, guys, just so put this out, I just got
Teresa,
this.
thank you again.
Just, I want to
Another
tell
superstar.
everybody there's a new article in Common Dreams out by friend Medea Benjamin
Hmm.
and Sandy Davies, who is actually somebody that I know as well. He's down here in South Florida. And it's a new article, Biden's destructive Israel policy has led us to the brink of war in Iran. And so just an interesting, it just came out today. So yeah.
Josie, good to see you. Unfortunately, no, Gail King only decided to contribute at the last second
That's
to let
complicated.
Mr. Coates know that you're getting out of line here and we gotta wrap this.
But isn't it complicated?
It's very complicated. And
No, it's really
there's
so
there's
simple.
so many layers to it that I wish people could see. And maybe they do see it. I know I do. What I do see, unfortunately, is a hero of mine, and I still appreciate him and what his message represents.
I'm so angry.
But the boss decided that he had to make an Instagram post.
Oh,
this
he's so in with
afternoon.
he's so in with the Obamas and the Clintons. Like it's gross.
I
It's
came out-
gross.
I wanted to let the people know the importance of this election.
Willie Nelson would never get in with them.
Bruce, I don't know, man, but this message hurt.
Oh,
All right, no joking. Colin, why is it in slow
I
motion?
don't know, but I like it. It's funny.
You know how long it'll take to hear this?
Give me 1 sec. Not sure what happened there.
Okay, first of all,
Poor Bruce.
I-
First of all, Bruce, this is not 1984 anymore.
I was at that tour. I was at that in the. I saw Born in the USA at the Orange Bowl in Miami.
But Bruce is in. He's trying to channel the Born in the USA right now. He's wearing the peacoat. He's in a diner.
Oh yeah, no, because he's Middle America.
He's got the little American flag there. It's like that America that you think the Democratic Party represents. It's dead.
He
It's been
doesn't
dead
care.
for a long time.
It enriches him and his friends. The fact that he hangs out with the people he hangs out with is the telling portion. You don't hang out with people like the Obamas and really care about the little man anymore.
Yeah. Well, Bruce has something.
Oh my God.
to
This is so, you know what this
say.
is? This is sad to me.
It is.
This would be like, it's sad.
Hi, I'm
Again, I
Bruce
have to hold out for
Springsteen.
some people.
Friends, fans, and the press have asked me who I'm supporting in this most important of elections.
Everybody knows who you're supporting. This isn't some big announcement like people didn't know you were going to. If people asked you who you were going to support, you say, I'm supporting the Democrat. What's her name? Kamala Harris.
He's just, I'm so disappointed.
And with full knowledge that my opinions no more or less important than those of any of my fellow citizens, here's my answer. I'm supporting
that one.
Kamala Harris for president and Tim Walz for vice president, and opposing Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Here's why.
But that's really all you needed to say, Bruce.
No, he needs an explanation. He has to go through the talking points he was given. There's talking points that must be made.
You think he's really reading into something? Right now?
Absolutely.
We are shortly coming upon one of
He's
the most
absolutely reading the
consequential elections in our nation's history. Perhaps not since the Civil War has this great country felt as politically, spiritually, and emotionally divided as it does then at this moment. It doesn't have to be this way. The common values, the shared stories that make us a great and united nation are waiting to be rediscovered and retold once again. Now that will take time, hard work, intelligence, faith, and women and men with the national good guiding their hearts. America is the most powerful nation on earth, not just because of her overwhelming military strength or economic power.
Really, Bruce?
I mean, he is
overwhelming
so
military power.
Oh,
what happened to the Bruce Springsteen that was
You
fight
know.
the power?
you know what happened to him.
Fight the power, Bruce. I think you got it backwards.
This is so
Why
sad
don't you
to
just
me.
say the most lethal fighting force? That's what you should have said. If you're really gonna,
This is just
just
sad.
carbon copy it, and you're saying this in a fucking diner in the Midwest. This is so. You should be your 30-year-old
sad.
self would be ashamed of you.
It's so sad. It's like it's the fall of a hero. It's pitiful. He even looks pitiful to me. He even looks somewhat beaten down to even being there doing this.
He literally turned 75 this past week.
Ugh.
And he looks great, and he still
That's not the
sounds good.
point. No, he
But-
sounds broken.
But
and
you
he's
know what?
reading a teleprompter.
He does sound broken.
Well,
where's the inspiration, Bruce?
Ugh.
Because I don't hear it.
It'll take time. We don't have that kind of time. We just don't have
Is
that
it going to
kind of
happen after you're dead? Because that's kind of what you're implying.
Kind of.
We don't have that kind of time.
He sounds like a politician because he's reading from a script.
But because of what she stands for, what she means, what she believes in, freedom, social justice, equal opportunity, the right to be and love who you want. These are the things that make
pink washing. Now he's pink washing. Oh, please.
When you say
Oh,
that you
please.
support what she stands for, you didn't say anything.
No, it was just all platitudes because that is what she stands for, is platitudes. He actually did go over exactly what she stands for, which is nothing. But the pink washing, that having to like pull out, are you kidding me? So you're basically using the LGBTQ community to justify supporting somebody that's committing a genocide against Palestinians. I actually know, ironically, a member of the LGBTQ community that's Palestinian, and I could tell you, this is not heartwarming. They love who they love. They'd rather their people stop being murdered. We have that already.
And
Thank
many
you.
people have pointed out time and again,
Oh,
especially when
pink
you
washing.
attempt to use that as a reason
Ugh.
to justify anything that Israel is doing, is the most loathsome way of going about it. And it's the same thing here in this country when they hang abortion over your head when you can't afford to pay for anything. This is how it works.
Well, and that's the reason why the choice issue is really much more important to more affluent
Why
people.
affluent women?
It's
Look-
their issue, because the truth of the matter is vulnerable women, and especially Black women, have not had the same access to women's reproductive rights, freedom, abortion as ever. They've never had that. So to them, it isn't a noticeable difference because they never had that to begin with.
If you go back and look at what was the pussy hat wearing march called?
Oh, the moms,
It wasn't Moms Demand Action.
They
I
were just
forget-
anti-Trump. It was
Yeah.
after Trump won the vagina hat march.
But if you go back and you look at that march and you really look in that crowd,
That is-
they're all wine moms.
White-
All wine moms from the suburbs.
Totally.
Why do you think they were able to do so?
You know,
Why do
I
you-
know people that were there. You
I'm
know
sure-
who was there.
yeah.
I know someone who's there. I know a few people.
And that in itself is
Very
in
privileged.
a nutshell. Those are the people that care about things like this. People whose lives are not affected by any of this. People like the crowd that Jose Vega, bringing the whole show full circle. When you're interrupting people in a group like that, these are the people who look at somebody like Springsteen now and think he's great. 30 years ago, they wouldn't have listened to him for a minute because his message actually had some teeth to it. Now it has nothing.
I'm so
He is
sad.
everything that he claimed he was never going to be.
This has to be very hard for you.
It is.
It would be like if Dolly came out and supported like the Zionist state. I think I'd kill myself. Like that could push me over the edge. That would be it. She's the only living muse left in my life. So if she came out, like I would lose my shit. But this has to be hard for you.
But this is the thing that you've been saying, and I agree. What I'm taking away from this message from Bruce is that he's kind of done fighting.
Oh yeah. He's just succumbed. He's just friends. He's enjoying his final years with the Obamas and, you know, living
And
a
as
good
hard
life.
as this is, and Bruce sang about this, a rich man in a poor man's shirt. And that used to mean something because he was a rich man. He's been a rich man for 40 years, but now he's a billionaire. He is in a different world. And no matter how much he wants to not be in that world, he will not give up being friends with the Obamas or Tom Hanks or George Clooney. That type of stuff matters to him.
Yes.
Because he's first of all,
that means he's affected.
He is affected.
It's so unfortunate.
Bruce is also an exceptionally depressed individual.
Okay, well, and a lot of musicians have issues.
They are.
Because they're artists, and artists have issues. That's what makes their art so good.
And that's what also hurts, because unlike most artists who are over the hill, and let's face it, most artists do suck, Bruce still has an ability. Bruce wrote a song less than a decade ago called Hitchhiking on Western Stars, which is a great album if you haven't listened to it. And Western Stars is an album that captures sort of this imagery. He hasn't had something like that since he did Darkness on the Edge of Town, Born in the USA in Nebraska. And that was even before I was alive. So if you're going to talk
Good
about
days, good days.
Good days. I wish I was.
It was a great show. Actually, that was a really good show. The Orange Bowl Born in the USA show. It was amazingly
It's legendary.
good. Yeah, it was really good.
But that's
I
not
also saw Prince Purple Rain in that same stadium.
But
right
those-
around the same time.
But those days are gone. Just like Dan Marino's not the quarterback of the Dolphins anymore.
Makes me sad. Although, did you see the commercial where they came out of retirement? It's him, Emmitt Smith. I want to say, oh God, who else? There's 4 of them. And they're sitting and watching the game. And
Yes,
remember
Jerry Rice.
Jerry Rice, Emmitt Smith, Dan Marino, and there was a 4th person, but they all come out of retirement and then they decide, I think we're good on the couch right here.
And the thing that's even more amazing, which cannot be denied, because if you look at statistical data that has been measured after Taylor Swift gave her endorsement, that hurt Kamala. And
Joe Montana. Thank you.
And it also hurt Taylor Swift. I don't think this is going to hurt Bruce, but I don't know why anyone thinks that this is going to move the needle in any direction whatsoever.
The only people that are affected by this were already voting that way anyway. It's the bubble, because he's in that bubble. And yes, the Purple Rain show was amazing. I actually ended up connecting with this Usher friend, and then we got to the 11th row, and I was on the field. It was really amazing.
I have a friend that owns Jersey Freeze. Now, for those of you who are from where I'm from in central New Jersey, you do know of Jersey Freeze. It's one of Bruce's favorite places. He shows up every once in a while. And it just so happens that when he showed up earlier this year, he did happen to show up with Bon Jovi. And the 2 of them are there taking a photo with my friend from high school. And everyone's talking about it. And yes, there are those glimpses of not completely removing yourself from common behaviors. But this is not common behavior. This is the behavior of being a gatekeeper within a broken system. And of all people,
he's
Bruce
a shill.
knows it's broken. He knows it's broken.
He doesn't care anymore, clearly. He's simping for the freaking Dems. It's embarrassing.
We'll finish it up.
Make America great. Donald Trump is the most dangerous candidate for president in my lifetime. His disdain for the sanctity of our Constitution, the sanctity of democracy,
you mean
the
like
sanctity of the rule of law, and the sanctity of the peaceful transfer of power should disqualify him from the office of president.
They will not
again.
They will not get off of January 6th. They will not get off
because that's the talking point. They have that because that's the fear point. Look what happens. If Trump wins, orange man bad. If Trump wins, then all the crazies are going to try to take over again. The guy's going to go in, he's going to grab the podium and walk out smiling. And the guy with the shaman hat's going to come out. And those people are a real threat to our democracy. How about the fact that the Democrats don't even have a primary? I'd say that the democracy is already gone. That ship sailed. So Yeah, this is bothering me because I actually really have fond memories of Bruce Springsteen.
And he's still great. He's still got it.
Doesn't matter.
But
No,
it doesn't matter
he's
now.
dead to me now. I mean, not Mel Gibson, Bill Cosby dead, but still.
I don't know what he believes of this.
Ugh.
And it is delusional.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate.
Because when you come out and you make this statement about the sanctity of democracy and the sanctity of our Constitution, you have a couple of things that you're ignoring, Bruce. Number one, you are ignoring the fact that the Democratic Party has completely decimated whatever semblance of an electoral process we have in this country since 2016.
They spend their time creating lawsuits to keep third-party candidates off the ballot.
The GOP does not do that. They've never done it. The Democratic Party does it in races they don't even need to worry about.
This is so
It is a
sad.
cottage industry to suppress. And yes, the GOP has their own version of voter suppression.
Absolutely.
They kick people off of ballots or they kick them off voter rolls.
Who is this ad for Kamala going to a particular demographic office? I'm not sure yet. Where was this? Where was this being
No,
played?
he just posted it
Oh,
on
this is
Instagram.
just Bruce. This is just Bruce posting it. So whatever neo-libs who follow Bruce Springsteen.
It got a lot of traction.
I'm sure it did. I'm not calling him the boss anymore. Now I'm sad.
But don't forget, this is also, you're neglecting the part of the democratic process that people want to pretend isn't happening. If you get kicked off of a voter roll, like the Republicans do in a lot of states,
Yes.
do you know why that's not as bad? Because you can still register to vote again.
Unless you don't know that you're kicked off. And
That's
look,
true. And that is up to the population to know. I am sick and tired of defending the fact that we are a stupid country and people don't think for themselves. That is something I actually do not sympathize
No,
with.
there is. And one of the things that I've always said is people think the biggest problem is voter complacency. No, voter ignorance is infinitely worse. Based on what the majority of people know and don't know, I assure you we're better off with those people not voting. So the people, unfortunately, need to first be educated in order for them to be their vote to actually be helpful.
The Democratic Party literally rigging a presidential primary and getting away with it, that's the real crime. That's the real tragedy. And the fact of the matter is, in 16, I sympathized with Bernie. In 20, I didn't.
No,
because he let them walk over him.
He knew it would happen and didn't prepare for it.
Didn't prepare.
That-
He had every opportunity.
Yeah.
And I've said this before and I'll say it again. When he should have come out and declared victory in Iowa, which he didn't do, and he allowed that rat weasel to get ahead of him and do it. He then
Booty
goes
judge.
on to win in New Hampshire comfortably, and then he crushes in Nevada. And what he needed to do before Super Tuesday was he needed to get Marianne Williamson, Andrew Yang, and Tulsi Gabbard and guarantee them cabinet positions in his administration, get them to endorse him, and then, yes, whether we like it or not, given the VP spot to Elizabeth Warren. He didn't do it. And then the next thing you know, he gets kneecapped. And you know what? Even if he did try to do it and they refused because they were all in on it from the beginning, at least then the public would have known about it. But instead, Bernie didn't fight the way we needed him to fight.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, or no, should I say number three, is that now the Democratic Party doesn't even care anymore. They are so corrupt beyond words that they allowed a person who clearly has onset dementia and has had it for a long time to think they were going to whisk him into the White House.
No, I think the goal was always to get Kamala in. Let this finish. But
they were going to get Kamala in. They have completely eliminated whatever semblance of electoral process you think exists in this country. So when you say that we are losing the sanctity,
It's so
of democracy,
unfortunate.
Bruce, open your fucking eyes, man.
Oh, he's gone.
He doesn't understand the meaning of this country, its history, or what it means to be deeply American.
Let it play.
On the other hand, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are committed to a vision of this country that respects and includes everyone, regardless of class, religion, race, your political point of view, or sexual identity.
They do?
And they want to grow our economy in a way that benefits all, not just a few like me on top.
Oh,
That's
really?
the vision
least
of
she knows
America
that.
I've been consistently
certain amount
writing
of
about
self-awareness.
for 55 years.
Mhm.
Now, everybody sees things different, and I respect your choice as a fellow citizen. But like you, I've only got one vote, and it's one of the most precious possessions that I have. That's why, come November 5th, I'll be casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Of course.
Thanks for listening.
So sad. It's like the end of an era. It's the
It
death
is.
of an icon.
It is.
It's so
And
sad.
the fact that he,
Pitiful.
it is pitiful. The fact that he said what he said.
It's just, it is. It's
And the fact that he talks about Trump. Trump doesn't get this country. You have said many times before, Trump is America.
Oh, I can't think of a better representation of this country globally than Donald Trump. Oh yeah, no, he is us. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my God. Like that's such a selly out thing. Oh, it's so unfortunate. What's next?
Go to Rumson, go to Red Bank, go to Middletown, New Jersey. You want to see how Bruce lives. You want to see the people that he lives amongst. You want to see what real upper class living is all about and how expensive it is and how just walking down those streets, you feel like you have to pay a toll.
That's
the world he lives in. And he's been there for a long time. Every once in a while, he wakes up in the morning and he remembers that he's Bruce Springsteen from Freehold, New Jersey. And he has to go out there and find a moment that makes sense to him, like showing up at the Stone Pony in Asbury Park and getting on the stage with people that no one really knows.
But I mean, I don't understand why you're telling us this.
Because Bruce deep down doesn't want to be this person, but he's accepted that he is.
I don't know how you are doing such this psychoanalysis of Bruce Springsteen like he's your best friend and you know what's going on in his mind. He sold out. It's that fucking simple.
I didn't say that he didn't.
But it's like, you don't know that he wants to be this and doesn't want to be that. I think you're making a lot of presumptions. I think that he is just like any other person that does well and forgets where they come from.
But he wasn't always that way, and he was on top, and he didn't forget. And why the hell he made this transition so late in life?
It doesn't, or maybe he wasn't what you thought he was when you thought that. You don't know because you don't really know people, and you don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
Well, I
and
know
they're
what
just
I see.
celebrities.
I know what I see in front of me.
Exactly, and that is a tiny minutia of somebody's life is what you see in front of you.
Well, yes, but no. You might be right about that. We might be heading in that direction. It certainly seems that.
I don't know what happened in that movie. I didn't see it.
You should see it. I don't know why you won't.
Because it's about the whole mental illness thing and the whole stuff. I just don't find
That's
that.
not what it's about.
It's the one with Joaquin Phoenix,
Yes.
right? And now it's the repeat. Yes, it is. He's like this sad clown and he can't get a job or whatever it is.
Just see the scene with Robert De Niro.
I don't want to. It's too dark. I don't need that kind of dark shit. If I want dark shit, I get enough
At least
dark shit.
Candidacy understands good stuff.
I'm sure it is. Honestly, I get enough dark shit from what's going on in the world that I don't need that. I don't
Well, as punishment, at least you know how many heads are going to explode if Trump actually does win again. I know that people may not be as shocked this time around, but it's going to drive.
Yeah, they will.
You know who's hoping and praying that Trump wins again? The pharmaceutical industry and therapists. That's who's hoping he wins. Because their business will shoot through the roof.
And media. The media freaking loves Donald Trump.
100%.
Oh my God, they love him.
So I think I'll probably do a pontificating with Pete. I'm going to try to get here over the weekend. I know Jen does not want to talk at all about the vice president.
No, well, and also because not only do I not like debates in general, but the vice president is just so irrelevant. It really is. It's so inconsequential to this. Yeah, I'll put it on my list of things to do.
See, if Tony says it, then Jen will give it consideration. Not if I say it.
No, I know, it's not my vibe.
I think Hollywood is never going to be the same again because I think this thing with Sean Diddy Combs is only going to dig the rabbit hole even deeper. Apparently, there is a lot of crossover between him and Jeffrey Epstein.
Shocking.
Like a significant amount.
Of course there is. They probably use the same supplier of people. Apparently there was some sort of instance with Denzel and Diddy and years ago.
Yeah.
And Denzel basically stood up, told him off, and he and his wife walked out. And he said something to him along the lines of something about dancing with the devil.
Yes, that's correct.
And I again, Denzel is a very, stand up kind of guy seeming. So I can't even imagine, You know, that
I
he
haven't
would
seen
tolerate.
I haven't seen him put out a video in support of Kamala Harris yet, but I'll let you know if he does.
No, that one I don't care about his politics. I'm just saying I don't see him as being interested in like sex trafficking
Yeah.
and kiddie porn. Like that just doesn't that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about his politics.
Make sure that you are subscribed. Make sure you hit the bell. Make sure that you go to patreon.com
Like I have no doubt
/generational
Dolly's probably
change.
vote for them. I'm sure she will.
As I was saying, for as little as $5 a month, you can become a supporter of our small but mighty channel. We appreciate any and all support that you can provide. And of course, we try to provide the type of social commentary that actually has meaning.
Guys,
that
hit the
shows
like
value.
button. Hit the like button.
If you haven't done that,
Yeah.
we'd appreciate it. We also are, we're going to hold this story because again, it's getting late. We'll hold the story about the insurance scam that's going on here in Florida.
It'll hold. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Hope for that. Unfortunately, we don't live in a world where Cornel West is going to be president.
No.
But what we do have is a movement that is actually starting that I think might last this time. Because the truth is, we are finally in a movement that's building that is surrounded or isn't dependent upon one person to lead the charge.
No, and there's been a line in the sand.
Correct.
That's the thing. We're dealing with a genocide now. So a lot of people are taking a stand that didn't otherwise, and people are coming together about that.
And that's why when somebody like Bruce puts out a video like this, it isn't like, oh my God, why did he do? It's like, all right, Bruce, goodbye. Go ahead. Be on that side.
There's a line. I cannot.
Be on the side of labor and be on the side of humanity. And if you're not on that side, you're nowhere.
And you cannot be on the genocide.
Correct.
That's the deal breaker. It's a deal breaker.
You are not entitled to not feeling uncomfortable.
No, I am so sick of people trying to gaslight as if this is not happening.
That's the biggest thing about Trump. Trump makes people feel uncomfortable. And you know what? You're not entitled to not feel that way.
No, I don't really care anymore about that.
Because if we lived in a country, you want to talk about trauma? Think about the trauma that people are still going through 20 years later, almost 25 years later, after 9/11. And they weren't even in it. They just saw it happen on television and it psychologically fucked them up and they can't get past it. Imagine living in a country where you have literal death from above raining down upon you every single fucking day.
And not just the actual, but the fear of it. Quite honestly, the fear of not knowing when that's going to happen. And that's what's going on right now in Lebanon as well, is that's the terror. That's the terrorizing, is that not knowing that it's going to happen. And no, I can't imagine that. Nobody in this country really understands that.
Why don't you look at the videos, like the ones that we posted today, of the newborn children.
Tony D, then vote for Stein. Help her get the 5%.
On the table, shrieking and shaking. You want to talk about shaken baby syndrome? They'll give it to themselves because they've been terrorized.
Oh, well, we've seen children die from heart attacks in Gaza. Their children have, and there is a new documentary. I have not seen it yet. I just saw a little clip about this called Starving Gaza that is being put out by Al Jazeera. And it looks like extremely, I'm not going to say good because it's not good, but that's the kind of stuff that is causing me to feel so much rage. I'm sitting here watching women talking about that they just watch their babies starve to death and there's nothing they can do. So as a mother, I can tell you, if you don't think that that woman, if she survives this, isn't going to like be wanting to kill people, I don't know to tell you.
Yeah. And that's
and quite honestly, I would actually consider helping her. I would even be okay with that. I'd be like, yeah, I get that. These women are watching their children starve to death. Not being able to feed your kid is like I can't even.
But as Bruce says, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are about America and what makes America great. How anyone can look around at what's going on right now and just pretend like it isn't.
I'll never forgive any of these people. I'll never forget. I'm a Taurus, so we don't forgive anyone.
I'm a Taurus too. I don't. I don't forgive. It's not that I don't forgive, but I will never forget.
No. Oh no.
No. You'll remember who actually stood up and who didn't. Bernie, kind of, but not enough.
Not enough.
He at least will not be on the firm shit list forever. But AOC, forget it. She's stuck there.
Honestly, at this point to me, anybody simping for the Democratic Party that is currently conducting a genocide is simping for genocide.
We didn't even have an
It's that
opportunity to get to
simple.
that tonight, but you guys know we've had Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett on the show
I'm
a
so
couple of
sad about
times.
it.
If you haven't seen that interview that she just gave with Michael Tracy following the vice presidential
It's not
debate
good.
that Glenn Greenwald put up
I
there,
saw it. It's so unfortunate.
listen, she is not a good politician. She is a phenomenal politician. And it's all career-based for her. She is the type of politician that AOC wishes that she was.
Well, she's not as smart. That's the thing. Jasmine Crockett's really bright. You know how I said AOC is just not that bright?
No.
Jasmine Crockett's bright.
Yeah.
So that's the...
And the one thing I will give Jasmine Crockett credit for,
I'm
as
sad
hard
about
as
it.
that is to say this, Jasmine Crockett, unlike 99.9% of the people that roam the halls of Capitol Hill, Jasmine actually, and she knows that Michael Tracy is a confrontational reporter, and she stuck it out with him. She actually had a lengthy conversation with him, whereas in most instances, they won't even look at him.
I was disgusted by it, though.
Do you see what happens to Debbie Wasserman Schultz when she sniffs Medea Benjamin in the building?
No, she
can't get to the elevator fast enough.
She tells the Capitol Police she's being assaulted.
Yeah.
By Medea Benjamin.
But a lot, they're all like Debbie. But Jasmine knows the score. Again, another person who knows what's going on. History will never forgive you for this.
No.
That is why, if you think that Trump is the problem and not just a symptom of the problem, you are as guilty as anybody else. How you are not demanding an end to this and saying, I cannot support you if you do not end this.
Like, I'm never going to get over this.
The
Ever.
level of privilege, whether it's from Bruce or from anybody else, that you cannot stand up and say that this is wrong.
It's just...
Imagine if your fucking child was killed. Would you then have a problem with it? I have been around the worst of living conditions in the Bronx, and I've been around some of the wealthiest, most affluent people in the world. And there is a difference between the way people look at the world. This is a class war. And there are a lot of people in high-class society who do not think like this, but a lot of them do.
But even ones who don't, they go along with it. That's the problem.
Most of them go along with it.
They're complacent.
They are complacent in it. And yes, whether you like it or not, the gentleman who was interviewing Mr. Coates earlier, Tony, who went to Pinecrest.
Gulliver.
Went to Gulliver, went to Georgetown, and went to Columbia.
Yeah.
He does believe that he is ethnically and morally superior
Absolutely.
to everybody else.
Well, he believes that Jewish people
are
superior to Palestinian people. Absolutely.
No, they just believe that's a superior.
Well, yes, but their kids are worth more. Absolutely, he does. He believes that Palestinians their Arabs are primitive. I've been over this.
When we finish this interview, when we cut the live stream, go back and check it out and look at his body language. His body language suggests, I don't even want to be around you. You are beneath me. You might be able to.
No, Henry, not 4 different colleges. One was a prep school down here for high school. One was a college and one was a grad school.
And the one thing that you will notice very often, especially about the men in particular, they're all beta cuck males. These are not men that can physically impose themselves on other people, but what they can do is put their finger on the button. You see, that they can do. And that is always the most dangerous thing. That's why Sheldon Adelson gave $100 million to Donald Trump. He doesn't have the physical capability of actually being an imposing individual, an alpha male, if you will. But what he does have is money and power. And that's what emasculated men have. And they are the most dangerous. And there are a fuckload of them that support Israel.
And by the way, it's not a Jewish thing, because Lindsey Graham, there's a lot of people.
Lindsey Graham.
There's a lot of war hawks that are Zionists that are not Jewish. It's not a Jewish thing. This guy, I don't know whether he's Jewish or not. I know his ex-wife and his kids were living in Israel. Now, he did say something about inviting him over for high holidays. Well, whatever.
If that
Whether he
wasn't a
married into
that
it.
that was a thumb in the fucking eye, if that ever was.
No, he's like, you can still come over holiday.
No,
even
but
though-
he wasn't really meaning that. He was saying that to.
Well, he was just that's you're reading way more into that. But he was just so disgusting and douchey. And yeah, I wasn't impressed.
I wasn't impressed either.
Not at all. Your pedigree don't impress me, Matt.
But it's not going to win you in the long run.
No, they're gonna meet the exact same fate they got in 2016. But people like him will live off of it. They'll thrive off of it. They'll have 4 years of going on the anti-Trump.
It truly is absolutely incredible how full circle this has come in just 3 generations. This is Nazi Germany all over again, from the standpoint of you have a pretty sizable, even somebody like Henry Winkler has to walk that line so ever so carefully. But I will tell you, there is a significant portion of that Jewish population that is looking at what's going on and they don't agree with it, but there is a code of silence.
Absolutely.
In Jewish culture.
It's any
to
culture.
Just not say anything.
It's insulated cultures. It's all cultures
You
like
think
that are like
all
that.
of Germany was on board with what the Nazis were doing, or were they just like, oh, it's our people, I guess we
Well,
just gotta go
no,
along
but
with
the
it.
ones that spoke out got taken to the camps.
Mm.
They got persecuted just like the people like in this country when you had white people standing up for black people back during, segregation. They were called all sorts of things. And so those white people were actually even more despised, just like Jewish people are more despised for speaking out by Jews than you would be or anyone else would be. Like the fact that I'm Jewish and they hate me more.
I'm sure they do. And that's why they probably put a full court press on behind the scenes against her to support Debbie. And why not? They really think that they can't be touched. But you know what? Every empire comes to an end. And we are in the late stages of empire. You have to be blind as a fucking bat or Bruce Springsteen to not see it. Kat Negrita, Henry Kajawa, Teresa, Chris Garrett, Ray J.
I think I'm year of the boar. I think I am. I'm 71.
I'm the year of the boar as well.
Then is that
It's 12 years? I'm 83, so yes.
Okay.
The year of the boar. Arlene.
I don't want to be year of the boar.
Rather be the year of the dog? You missed it by 1 year.
No, I don't want to be year of the dog. I want to be year of the osprey.
Tony D, yes but no, Jimmy Zim Zam, Nelson Ortega.
The ospreys are back.
Sam Stan, that's great.
I know.
We love them offspring.
I do love the ospreys so much. The guys, the osprey, are back for the season. They're here. The osprey are here.
Jay, who else?
For people
Chip.
who don't know, we get really, really cool birds in Florida.
For how much longer, we'll never know.
Well, I don't know, but that is
Enjoy it
one
while
of the
you
things
can.
I do. We get really cool birds, and this time of year, we like our osprey population doubles because some of our osprey are permanent, but a ton of them are migratory.
Arlene, thank you so much again for your contribution. How's my mic sounding? I need to check that because I have been trying.
Nobody's
to
been complaining.
Nobody's
It's
been
good
complaining.
because
That's
we're
good.
right where we're supposed to be.
Danny Ferguson, thank you so much. Eric 1568 on, I believe that's Rumble. Got some Rumble chatting going on.
Rumble.
Get them Rumbles over here on YouTube.
Let's get ready to rumble. We need to get Steve on to do his.
The 7 sacraments of health. I'd like to know what those are. What are those 7 sacraments? Maybe I'm not following it all together.
No, I don't. Does anybody really follow it all together? I do my best.
Philip Blair. Who else? John Nada. I saw you checking
I saw
briefly.
Arlene was in there.
Arif Hassan.
Did you see Arlene Chambers?
Arlene, I did shout out
Okay.
Arlene. Steve Grossman, thanks for checking in.
Got a lot of our
Of course, for
usual-
Tony, and I gave you
usual
your birdie.
peeps.
We appreciate you being here. Anastasia Battle, I believe you're new.
And yeah.
yes, Jose is great and definitely worth it.
Oh my God! If there is any, honestly,
Not
that
happening, but just,
I know, but
yeah.
that congressman in particular, to me, if you guys are not familiar with Richie Torres, I just find him so incredibly disgusting. I really do. I cannot. I have never seen somebody use their identity to simp more. And I only wish, like, you see, I can't say the things I want to say because I'm not Tim Black. But the things that I want to say about it, like using your identity as a gay Black person to simp for the establishment, the oppressors that are basically killing your people. It's so gross.
It looks like we've got a really wide swath of different signs
I'd
of
be
the
a
Chinese
snake.
calendar.
I could see that. That would be cool. I don't know why. Oh, dragon. That would be awesome. Why am I boar? That sucks.
But are dragons even real?
And you know what, though?
At least I know a boar is real. And you have to. And here's the thing
I'd
about
still
the
rather be a
vegans.
dragon.
You have to kill wild boar in this state. There is an overpopulation at times of the year.
But even if, but
and they
see,
are
I don't.
dangerous.
Yeah, I don't mind hunting.
No.
But my understanding is that the boar, like the wild boar that we have here, is not like tasty. That's my understanding, that it's not something that you really like. And yes, we do have an overpopulation of a boar problem. You know why?
And Chris is the
I
year
can
of the
tell you
dog.
why.
Yeah.
Oh, the reason we have an overpopulation of a boar problem is because we've killed off predators. And we kill off predators when we overdevelop and build highways and take out things like panthers and things that prey on the little piggies. So we have screwed with the ecosystem in such a way that you get overpopulation of things. And so, yes, then they become rampant. And I have heard that, but I also heard they don't taste good, which is a little disappointing.
For those of you who have been paying attention, because we've been going on the live stream, we'll end on this note. The New York Mets apparently pulled off a miracle of miracle Mets proportions against the Milwaukee Brewers. They will face the Phillies in the divisional round series, which starts this weekend.
I like the Phillies.
Yeah.
I like the Phillies.
Well, Citizens Bank Park is my favorite ballpark that I've been to. So it'll be rocking and rolling, but it's going to be an I-95 series, which means that there's going to be a lot of opposing fans in each ballpark. But I will tell you, when New York and Philly gets together, it ain't pretty. So there's going to be a lot of hooting and hollering and probably some fisticuffs.
Go Phillies.
Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things we ask you to do. We appreciate you and love you all, and we'll see you Monday.